Take two. We are back live. Interviews with everyday people. If you're listening to audio, you're going to get the double duty there. We're back. This is 107. Tyler Bernadyn.
Hello.
This is it's been in the works for a minute.
Yeah.
You were one of the first people, and this is kind of cool to say, but you were one of the first people when I made merchandise to buy a shirt off me.
I still have it.
You have the OG shirt.
Yes, I do.
We have upgraded since then.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know how I still feel about my face as a logo, especially with the short hair. We got to update it with the locks. Yeah, but when I got my first merchandise made, you were the first one to buy one off me, and I was like, you and your dad.
Yeah.
I was like, it meant a lot. I was like, cool, because like that was very early stages.
Yeah.
And all that stuff kind of got us to where we are now. Because when I first started, quality was not the greatest. It was rough, and I was still learning. I didn't know how to set microphones and everything up, but we've come a long way. If you ever watch like the old videos, like these curtains that we hung up weren't here. So it was like literally you're staring at like my microwave.
Oh.
But now we're in a luscious studio. We have this huge multi-billion-dollar mansion we record in. No, we're still in the same kitchen. There's PVC pipe. If you know, you know. But let's get into it real quick. Abaddon Tattoo Studio. We want to thank our sponsors. Unique professional experience nestled in the small town of Pine Grove, Pennsylvania. They provide high-quality tattoos and piercings in a relaxed, professional, and sterile environment. You can check out the links below to go and follow them. Also, Patreon. We have $1 for a shout out, $5 for shout out and bonus episodes. I want to say real quick, I'm going to announce it throughout the shows until we actually officially do it. But Patreon content isn't going to stay exclusive Patreon. I made a message in there, and a lot of people are like, "Hey, man, we're just helping out and putting $5 in here. We're not really the exclusive content is cool, but it's more or less just we want to be supportive." And I think a lot of that content is good, and I want it to be seen. So we're going to start putting out the content starting probably next week. So I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. So we're not going to record, but I'm going to upload the Patreon content. And then we're going to do a normal episode. Then the following week, maybe a Patreon episode, then normal, then Patreon. So it's going to be a while till we get to the more current stuff, but we're going to start uploading it so you guys can see it. But yeah, it's fun. But we want to thank some of the people who support us on Patreon. First off is going to be Tommy B., The Tree of Life Metaphysical Shop, Brad Zalonis, Hireth in Other Words Podcast, Jay, and Austin Blackwell. That kid sucks. Heidi's on vacation and she's sending me photos. Oh, she just sent me a beer list.
Bragging.
Yeah. She's not going to drink any of it. Anyway, she's up in the Finger Lakes. She's actually where my dad lives now. She's up there with a group of friends.
I've been up there a few times.
It's nice.
Did you ever hear the backstory of the Finger Lakes? Of why it?
No.
So it's supposed to be Paul Bunyan's hand when he tripped and fell. That's why it's called the Finger Lakes.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. Fun fact for today.
We got to figure out like how tall it actually was. Maybe there's like where his nose or.
Oh, like a proportion.
I hope the audio is working good. I usually have to test it. This is the struggles of being live and doing a one-man band. Sometimes stuff doesn't go through on Facebook, and I don't have anybody watching at the moment to tell me if it's not going well.
A one shot.
Yeah, I'm just going to listen to see if our perfect. We're good. All right, that's my normal test here. We're so professional here. School County podcast.
That's all about.
Yeah,
about being authentic more than anything.
That's what I try to recreate. I try not to overproduce it. I mean, I want it to look good and sound good, but I also want to keep it like I'm not going to edit things out and chop it up.
Yeah, there's a balance too. I mean, there's only so much that you could do, but then also like, I don't know, like I said, the authenticity. You don't want to get fake.
Yeah,
you'll lose a lot of people, especially in this area. You'll lose a lot of.
So if you're watching video, we are joined also by another guest. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kelly.
Kelly.
Yes.
And how do you know this gentleman here?
Ty's my boyfriend.
Boyfriend. I'm gonna be that guy. So when are you gonna change that title to like fiance?
Oh, that's already in the talks.
Really?
I think it's overdue at this point, honestly.
How long you guys been together?
A whole 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months.
That's November.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's 6.
Yeah, 6 months, almost 6 months.
Nice.
Yeah, we met through Hinge during the COVID era. I just moved out to Michigan, trying to figure out what to do.
Is Hinge like the more wholesome online dating app?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
I'm way out of that game
Yeah.
because I've been with my wife since I'm just out of high school and she's in high school. So that whole like trying to date in like the world of social media and apps and dating things, I had thankfully never experienced because it seems like a fucking nightmare.
It worked out well for us.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Like, but
We're definitely a success story.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I know. Like, I always hear like bad things about Tinder. Tinder's like the one, like the hookup one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
that's the one where you swipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I made a Tinder account one time, drunk with my friends, And the only reason we made it is because we were having a contest who would get more likes.
Okay.
And then when they would message us, we would just say stupid stuff.
yeah.
So we would even look at the photos. We would just keep swiping until something popped. And then a friend of mine's daughter found me on the site and told her dad. And he's like, "Are you like cheating on your wife?" And I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" He's like, "You're on Tinder." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I made that as a joke." I used my real photo and everything. I didn't care. And I even told her, I was like, "Yo, I'm making a Tinder because we're playing a game." And she's like, "All right, whatever." But and I was like, "Wait a second, why the fuck is your daughter on it? Because she's not 18." And he's like, "That's an even better question. I'll talk to you later." But yeah, that happened. Yeah, that was my only experience. I might even still be on there. So ladies, or gentlemen, if you're looking, I'm on Tinder. You can swipe me. I'll never know. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, we side story, Brad Teston, my cousin Boomer and myself, we all used to live at 228, the house in Monterey City.
Mhm.
So my dad's living up in Hazleton with his girlfriend. So it was just like us. It was like our mini frat house that we had when the three of us were there. And this was before I went back to school.
What street is that one on?
Manoy Street.
Oh, the one that's
Yeah,
like right by Canticus?
Correct. Yeah. We were there and we'd be like sitting up at night, and on Tinder, this was when it like, I guess like in its early stages, but you could do like group swipes. So we would like, it would be the three of us in a group, and then there would be like three girls in the group, and you would like swipe like that. It was crazy. So we would each assume a different role. So like Matt would be like the douchebag of the group, and then Boomer would be like the sophisticated nice guy, and then I'd be like the funny jokester. And then for like the next group, we would all like rotate and switch roles. So then like Matt would be the gentleman, and then Boomer would be the jerk this time. It was so much fun because you just got to like play all these different characters.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
My thing was, how can I come up with the stupidest, funniest, like cheesiest one-liners?
Yeah.
So when they finally accept it, I'd be like, I'm like something about like meatballs or something. Like it was always like a sexual innuendo too. I don't know, something stupid. But we were hammered. But yeah, that was my short-lived Tinder experience. So you meet on this dating app.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you're in Michigan, and you said closer to Detroit.
Yeah, so I'm in Livonia, which is a half an hour from where he's at.
Why is it doing that? I mean, you can keep going. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to adjust some stuff here.
Oh yeah, that's it. I'm a half hour from.
Yeah,
that's
so with me going out to school, I'm at U of M. So I'm in Ann Arbor, and then she's in Livonia, like she said. So we met up. The coffee shop's in Livonia, right?
Yeah.
It's like 5-7 minutes away from her house. So
Mhm.
it was like super close to her. So we drove, and I remember driving there and just sitting in a parking lot because she was late, of course, on the first date, which is just
Okay.
super disrespectful.
In my defense, I had to get gas, and then the road was closed that I would take. So then I had to go out of the way to get to there. And it was
So
weird.
in your area, I'm gonna do a little deep dive on your area. Like, is your area known for anything? Like, do you have like local cool history of your area?
Livonia? I don't know.
No.
No, like nothing cool. Do you know anything like cool that happened in our area? Did they educate you on any of it yet? Like cable television?
Oh,
wasn't-
I did know that. I
Yeah.
read that on the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you come down the Vulcan.
At one point in time in like the 30s or 40s or something like that, we were the #1 drinking town in America.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, we had more bars per capita than population.
Wow.
We had like 167 bars or something like that at one point in time.
Were there more than churches?
Yeah.
I know there's still like a church on every other block.
Actually,
almost.
what was the place that your dad and Bobby and my dad used to go to? Right by my parents' house. That little tiny house bar.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
They had a picture of like an old newspaper clipping
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
story, and it had like 167 bars.
Yeah, I'm blanking on that. But I remember my dad mentioning something
Yeah,
about that.
and the #2. Now this is all of America, and we're #1. Now our town is 3 stoplights.
Yeah.
You know what #2 was in America? The next town over, Shenandoah. Yeah, and the only reason Shenandoah was #2 is because they had more population. Like the population per bar was higher in Monte City than Shenandoah. So
Oh,
two
wow.
school county towns are like the king of drinking.
I feel like that
Wow.
could probably still be true to this day.
Yeah.
Between like the 4 bars within that 2-block radius is just, that's where the population of Monte City goes.
Have you done a crawl since you've been back? I know a COVID stuff's a little different.
Yeah, last night we went to the Red Zone, kind of like just a gathering. Like
Mhm.
my dad was there and I had a few of my buddies come out. we were there, and then I just went to the Citizens after that. So kind of like a 2-bar.
The Citizens like a new player to the game. See, like I grew up with the Citizens as a private bar. Like no one was allowed to be there. It was a membership thing, and now it's like open to the public, which is crazy to me. But it's cool because I think that basement has a lot of awesome memories and stories, and it's now that it's open to the public and stuff, it's awesome.
Yeah, no, I go there to play darts. That's like my main thing. It's like I love to go there and play darts because there's some scary dart players there that could just wipe the floor with some people, and I'm like, wow.
I suck at corkboard. I like the digital darts.
Really? See, I'm the complete opposite.
I don't like to count either, so I'm lazy.
Hard math.
Yeah, like I had to calm my drinking down because I keep scoring. Yeah. And then you do that spinner thing, and it never holds.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a good way to cheat too. I haven't done that in the past. Like I had 4 more points.
Yeah, I've noticed some people like come up to the board and they'll like block it completely with their chest and they'll like throw it up, and I'll be like, "What? Did you just shoot a 4 that round?" He's like, "Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right?"
Yeah,
it's like you haven't shot a 4 in your whole life.
And they have like a little piece of cardboard that there's stuff in it, so
it doesn't slide down. It's the balance. Yeah,
so stupid. I wonder if that's like just exclusive to us. It's probably not, but it feels like it's like a school county thing. The darts and this stupid spinny board.
Oh yeah, I know most places have like chalkboard on the side. At least in like Philly, whenever I went down to play, it was always like
more
a legitimate board.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. I think I love the red zone, but I still think McNiff's has definitely upped the game for me.
Yeah, I haven't been there in so long.
I love the food. I just love the atmosphere there. I think the last time you were in the area and we got together, we were drunk karaokeing with each other. I think we were singing the Backstreet Boys or something.
That sounds about right.
It was a good time.
Sounds up my alley.
That was the last time we were together. It was karaoke night, I believe, at the red zone.
Yeah, I think. Oh my God. I'm trying to think back to that night. And I mean, there's so many of them that like I've sang karaoke in that bar so many times that I feel like there's just every memory's in like one night. I'm like, yeah, I sang that song for
Austin was home and he sang. And for some stupid reason, he picked "We Didn't Start the Fire."
Okay. Nice choice.
And he doesn't even like know any of the words. And I don't even know why he picked it. But the funny backstory is, and I don't even think he was even aware he did this, is my brother legit started a fire and burned our house down. So when he was a baby, so he's in the bar singing like "We Didn't," and I'm like drunk, and I'm like, "Austin started the fire."
That's awesome.
And he's like, "You're a fucking dick, bro. Who's a baby?" I was like, "You ruined our whole lives.
You ruined our lives."
Well, that actually ties into how we met. That's actually in a weird way the fire, because when our house burned down, we lived for a short period of time right by St. Canicus in one of those tiny like one of those houses on the street there.
Okay.
Was not a big house. Me and Austin had to share a room on like air mattresses because we really didn't have a place to live for a while. And then we ended up buying the house we have now on Center Street. Mm-hmm. But Canicus became then my court because it was right across the street. Yeah. And I would always go there. And I just remember, and so little young Tyler comes over, and at the time he went by a nickname,
Bino.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know how that came about. Like, how did you?
Yeah, so the origin story. So my grandfather, so the Bernadyn name, he was called Benno, Beno, mm-hmm. And so he was always called Benno, and then it was kind of like the family nickname, and I was like, oh, kind of like that. Like, I'll tell my friends to call me that. Like, that's cool. And then.
Did they make fart pills called Beno pills?
Yeah, it was Beno. Yeah, and I was just like, and at the time I didn't even like know they existed, but it was in like 4th or 5th grade when it first started, and I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I'm enjoying it. And then like 6th grade, like immature boys that we were, like somebody's like, oh, Beno, and I was like, oh crap, like now I'm set for this. This is my destiny.
Yeah, I'm the fart kid.
Yeah, but and honestly, it destroyed me in the beginning because of like the ego. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is going to kill me. Like now I'm made fun of for the rest of my life. And then eventually like towards my like senior year of high school, I was just like, you know what? I kind of like it. Yeah. It has a nice ring to it.
Here's the question. Cause I remember when I first met you, I wouldn't say you still had your group of friends, but you were definitely more of an outsider than you were a little bit. That's like the kind of perception I got. And I think, just like a lot of other things in school county, the best way to fit in with your friends is you have to kind of get good at sports to live in our area. Because if you don't have an identity in sports, you don't have an identity. Yeah. Even if you don't play for the school, like even outside of school, you better be good at football. Even if you never put the pads on to play for the high school, like sports is the best way to kind of earn your keep in our area. Yeah. And I remember you coming to the court, and we had a game, and I always, well, even with the littles, like I had to hold mantra where like even if there was older kids, because I remember being like this basketball court that he showed you, St. Canicus, was like you had to be when I was growing up, like when we were a little bit age gap, you had to be good to be there. If you weren't good, you don't even show up because you're not getting on the court, you're not playing. And I kind of wanted to break that stigma. So like when younger kids would come, I'd be like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We'll put 3 bigger kids on one team, 3 bigger kids on the other, and we'll fill the other 2 with younger kids, and they'll be subs, and then we'll rotate kids in and out and give everyone an opportunity to play, and they get better that way. And we already had a really good basketball program. Obviously, we have one of the best coaches in the history of our area, and then on top of it, our town bred just basketball.
Yeah,
every court was filled with kids, and everyone went from court to court to try to see how they
some of the best players didn't even play on the team, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Like there was even like the one name that I always think of is, we spoke about him before, but Anthony Roman. He was like, he's up there as one of the best. He still plays now, and like he wakes up at 5 a.m. and goes to like a random court and plays with like a bunch of older guys in like a beer league type thing.
Yeah.
But he was like one of the best players that never like played on a team. Like he played for a little bit, and then he quit, I think like his junior year, because he's like, I'm not getting any playing time.
Yeah.
But phenomenal. Like
we used to beat the shit out of him. Like, not even joking. I played him like he was a fucking adult. Like I beat the garbage out of him. And he used to get so mad, like to the point almost tears.
Oh yeah.
And I'd be like, suck it up, dude, get better.
Yeah.
And then I got older, and we played a game, and he whipped my ass.
He got better.
And he got better, and he hit me with everything I ever taught him, but learned how to do it better. Like, I love that guy to death so much. He's such a cool kid. But yeah, so you come to the court, and I guess we were picking teams and stuff, and you were not picked. And they made it a very big point to make sure to let you know that you weren't picked.
Yeah. And I was also super undersized.
You were very short. You were very tiny.
Still to this day, I rock a 5'8", 5'9" on a good day.
And I remember I said something. I said to you, like, stay. Don't leave. Like, you didn't get picked. Take that.
Yeah.
But don't leave after this game is over. Because after the game was over, everyone left. And I said, listen, you want to get better? And you're like, yeah. I said, meet me here tomorrow at this time, and I'll teach you stuff, and I'll work with you. And you came every single day.
Hell yeah.
And we played every day. And like I said, I didn't take it easy on you. I played you. I made, and we worked at it. Yeah. And you became one of the best little outside shooters because you were tiny. I said, yo, man, just shoot. Don't even worry about working the inside. Yeah. Just shoot and get really good at defense.
Yeah.
And like smother people.
I was a hustle player.
Yeah.
All I had. I was just scrappy.
And I only knew you about Bino at the time. I didn't know your name. I didn't know your parents. I didn't know nothing about you. I just like, you're the kid that comes to the court, and I'm going to help out. So I'm in the lunch line getting food. And I'm not saying we didn't always have money, but I didn't know where I stood when it come to like I didn't want to keep bugging my parents. Like, can I get money for lunch today? Or like, you know, and so I'd go to school and I just wouldn't get much, or I'd get like something small and then I'd eat when I get home. And I was like, oh man, I'm kind of hungry. And I went to go use my card and it didn't work. And I was like, fuck. And the lady at the thing was like, are you Tony Blackwell? And I go, yeah. And she goes, just go. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, just go. And I said, all right. So I come back the next day, and I went to, I think at this time she wasn't at the register. She was behind the line, and she was like, yeah, when you go out, just tell her I said you're good. And I was like, who is this lady? Right. And then like, I was like, can I ask you? She goes, I'm like, how do you know me? Now, most of the time I was like, you probably know my dad, because my dad was big in the fire department, and we live in a small town. Everybody knows everybody. My dad's been on the news all the time for firefighting. And she like kind of got like emotional. At least that's the way I remember the story. She kind of got emotional. She's like, my son is the one you've been working with basketball. Now, also at the time, everyone at the time, like most people his age were like, oh, I remember playing basketball with you, because I did it with everybody. And she's like, I'm like, Tyler. I was like, I don't know. Yeah. She's like, Pino. I was like, oh yeah, that kid's cool. He's a cool little kid. She's like, you really helped like his confidence. You really helped him like get like you got better, and then you came almost as good, if not better, than most of your friends.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then you went from never being picked to now you're like one of the first picks, or being a captain of the team of your things. And she was like, she's like, thank you so much. And I was like, no, it's not a big deal. And she's like, not many older kids would take younger kids under their wing like that. And I was like, I never had that. So I wanted to break that stereotype, because I remember growing up, you're like, oh, the older kids are going to beat us up and they're going to pick on us. And I was like, I don't want to make someone feel that way. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to stop that.
Yeah, no, that's such a good stigma to break too, because little thing like that, and talking about this, it starts like bringing back memories and dusting off some cobwebs. But just little things like that, you don't even like then obviously meant a lot. But now looking back, I'm like, holy cow, like just something as small as that kind of builds like a work ethic.
Mhm.
Like showing up to the court, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even like realize that like that's what a work ethic is. And then like go to now where I'm at, and I'm like training all the time and going to school and lab, and it's like, wow, work ethic. It's
Mhm.
like, it's funny how like where it starts.
And it's kind of cool because your generation, because we treat it like I always didn't like that stereotype where if someone's younger than you, you treat them like they're lesser than. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you're 5 years younger. I don't care if you're a 5-year-old. I'm going to treat you like a human. You know what I mean? And I'm going to treat you with respect. And I'm not going to give you the same, like, I don't want to say not the same, like, rights and liberties, but
Mhm.
people dismiss people that are younger as if they're lesser than, and they don't give them a shot, and they don't have conversations with them. Like, and that was a thing that was a struggle with me growing up. Like, hey, I have depression. Hey, I'm suffering from this. Hey, I'm suffering from that. And it's just like, you're a kid. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what life is. I'm like, no, this sucks. Like, I need help right now.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to make sure like somebody else didn't feel that way. And it was good because then when I did it with the younger generation, every generation after that, like you go to the court and your generation was doing the same thing I was doing with you guys.
Yeah.
Where the younger kids were like, hey, we play. Yeah. And you guys would incorporate them and let them join in.
No,
And then it just kind of passed on and passed on.
that's the best example, or leading by example.
Yeah.
Exactly it. And I mean, that's good because I remember even not at St. Cancus, but going up like Little League in the East End, or like always just random kids like running around, and we're like, yo, we need an extra player. You want to jump on? And they're just like, yeah, sure.
Mhm.
And I could just picture that kid being like filled with joy. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is my chance.
You go home and you're like, he goes home and like, I got to play with the big kids
it's
today.
like, you have no idea.
Yeah, the best is when like one of my favorite things I ever would do is like I would give the pass to a kid like at the foul line, and I would just set a screen. I'm like, as soon as you touch the ball, just chuck it, shoot, and then they would make it. Like it would take like 4 or 5 times,
Yeah.
but they would eventually make it, and they'd be like, I fucking made it. Like, yeah, like they would get so excited. It was just a cool experience. That carried over to me for then coaching soccer. Like I started coaching youth soccer, and I was like, this is such a cool thing because it wasn't just about teaching the sport. It was like being a better person, teaching them to not treat someone else like garbage. It was just like, it was really fun. And that definitely, you're like the person for me to change that mentality. Because it was something for me that I was like, don't complain about it and don't say, you know, I don't like when it's this way, but then go ahead and do it to somebody else. Like, so for me, that was me just making a conscious change of like, all right, like you can make a small impact right now, and who knows where that can lead. And then like 10 years later, it's like, oh, wow, you go to the basketball court and these kids that are like, I'm working with and playing with and helping get better. Now they're like they're going for like a state championship. And it's like Dylan. I remember like everyone's like, oh, Dylan. I'm like, yeah, that kid's gonna be a little monster.
Yeah.
And he turned into a monster.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
Talk about a maturity too. I mean, a high school, like when I was in high school, I'm not thinking of like, oh, I'm gonna mold the youth of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like no one's thinking of that as a high schooler. Then there you are, like, you know what? I see potential in this kid here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I met just playing street ball, I would say, because I never played for Under a Whistle. Like just playing street ball, like I met my wife because she came to Monty City. I mean, I met her before that and I kind of blew her off. And I forgot her name. And then she came back with her friend to the basketball court, and I was with Marcus. And I was doing the same thing I did with you with Marcus. Where me and Marcus at the court playing. And she was like, I just remember you with this little kid that, you know, and you were like, oh, that's like my little brother. And she was like, you were just helping him play basketball. And it was the most adorable thing ever. So the first time I met my wife is like where we actually started like communicating was with Marcus Steika.
No
and then like we're at our wedding and like Steika's at the wedding. I was like, if it wasn't for you, brother, like that's wouldn't have happened. You were a good wingman.
Wingman of the year right there.
Yeah. It's just cool like how our small little coal region town can spark these small little memories that make huge impacts.
It's wild. And whenever, like I was even telling her, I can't even describe this place because there's nothing like it in the world. Like it's one of a kind. But usually I try to do it's like this small town stereotype that's caught in like the movies and stuff like that. Pretty similar. Like everyone knows everything about everyone, but it's cool how like the community is like always there. I feel like as long as like you're not a douchebag, you're pretty good. Like,
it's one of those things where even if you possibly even make a mistake or go through some things, you're gonna have people who are gonna be like, "We got you." You know what I mean? I think that it has went away a little bit with social media, and especially with this pandemic, where people couldn't be around each other and experience each other. One of the things that just recently, I don't go on social media too much, and just kind of the post the podcast stuff, and then I kind of check out. But I seen someone probably a little older than you but younger than me was just on like the Monty City Police block,
Okay.
and everyone was like kind of making fun of her and like laughing at her, and like I was like, man, like you're talking all this shit, but like if that was your family
Yeah.
and they were going through that, it wouldn't be a joke to you.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really comment on stuff because I don't want to, like, even when it comes to like political or stances on how I feel about certain things, I don't really talk about it on social media because I have this platform. If I want to speak about it, I'll openly speak about it.
Oh yeah.
Because this way you're not going to hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
because
Take out of context.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I just commented and I was like, you know what? I hope she really turns it around and cleans herself up and breaks the stigma. Because like, I'm so sick of seeing like people we grew up with, or I have a kid, even like the younger kids or the kids I went to school with, and they're like dying of drug overdoses.
Yeah.
And then you see like someone get arrested for it, and it's like 27-year-old person, and they at the point they look like they're 100, and you're like, fuck,
Yeah.
it's so depressing. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's wild. I mean, we've all lost people to ODs in this area, but
too many.
yeah. And I mean, back to the social media. My social media catered to like my science, my fighting, and my family.
Yeah.
It's like the only three things that I care about. So I'm like, good, this is it.
Ty has a limit. He doesn't even accept
Yeah.
over a certain number of friends.
I have 150 friends on Facebook, and every time I like somebody that's relevant in my life gets added, I'm like, oh, I gotta delete someone.
He cut someone
Really?
out of that
Yeah.
150. So like my friends would
am I
add
still
him,
there?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta check now.
There's because there's so many people. I mean, you go through and like obviously I could have like thousands of friends, which is like cool.
I think that's where I'm at, and then I accept everybody because there's people I deny, and then like I get a message like, "Hey, I was trying to add you. I want to be on the show," and I was like, "All right, yeah,
Yeah. There's like, I just realized I was seeing a bunch of nonsense, and I know that's like whenever somebody complains about social media, it's always like, yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of like bullshit. I just don't want to see it, and I'm like, well, you could delete that, or you could like unfollow them and stuff like that, but. I'm like, if I'm not talking to them, then you're just taking up space on my.
I said this on my podcast before. Well, I do another one called Wellness, High Tension Wellness, where it's like I'm part of this another network, and they focus on professional wrestling, and they do shows of that. But this one's kind of like a break of professional wrestling, and it's just about mental health and trying to better yourself in that aspect. And I always say, like, if you don't like what you're seeing on social media, it's your fault.
Yeah,
because the social media algorithm is designed to either make sure they put what you really, really like and things you really don't like, because most people will interact with the things they don't like and fight about and argue. So if you go on someone's thing, that algorithm is like, he doesn't like, let's just use an example, he doesn't like Trump, or he doesn't like the Democrat or liberal views. So they will pump them on your feed, because if it keeps you scrolling and clicking, it's going to keep feeding you that, because that's what's keeping you on their platform.
Yeah, it is, and it's the algorithm. It's so smart.
So when I see stuff like I'm not into, just unfollow.
Yeah.
Goodbye. And then I see, like, I make a conscious effort, like if I'm on there, like, hey, I want to watch more videos of dogs, I'm gonna like every dog video, because I know that's gonna flood my timeline. Like dog, professional wrestling, beer stuff. That's
exactly. And that's how I am. I have like even the pages that I like. Like I know it was a thing back in like middle school to go through and like I like syrup on my French toast. It was like a group or like a page, and it's like, this is ridiculous. So I like went through that, and it was like, whenever I'd have free time, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go through, delete some of these pages again. And I'm to the point where I have it like down to a T. I have it all like squared off to like I said, science, fighting, and family is like the only three things that our social media is covered with.
So out of school, you go into schooling again, obviously after high school. And what was your goal for people who didn't know? Like, what did you want to learn?
Yeah. So I'll start from the beginning. So after graduating from Monterey area, leaving high school, I went to Albright College, which is in Reading, PA. So I got a good Reading tasteful there. Went to Reading.
Do you like Reading premium lager? The yellow cans.
I don't think I ever had it, honestly.
That's pretty awesome. My dad hated it, but I love it. It's like their version of like a dirt beer.
Oh, really?
I love it.
Yes, I went to Albright College as a biochemistry major. They say with a capital C, because we took like 2 bio courses and like 8 chemistry courses. Did well with it. I wanted to go, at that point, I wanted to be like a physician. Like I wanted to be the ER doc, like from the soap operas, the cool, like
George Clooney.
Yeah, suave dude.
Yeah.
Fun fact, we have the same birthday.
You and George Clooney?
Yeah. So happy birthday to him.
Yeah.
Just
Wait, was George Clooney was at ER, right?
Yeah, that's him.
Who's the white guy that like had an egg head? That's probably way out of your generation.
I have no idea.
I don't remember.
I just know George Clooney because he doesn't.
Yeah.
But
He's bad one time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I go to Albright. I wanted to go to medical school. A lot of my friends were, like my buddies like Colton and Patty, they were like part of the early acceptance program for Penn State Hershey that Albright had. And they all got in because they were killing it in classes. And at that point, I was studying hours and hours, but I didn't know how to study.
Mhm.
Like I knew it, I was like, oh, just time put in equals like results. And it wasn't efficient. I was just like 12 hours a day, gotta study. And then I would get like a B on the exam and I'd be like, what's going on? Like, how are these guys doing so much better than me? And they are like super intelligent. They're freaks of like nature when it comes to just like, I don't know, just science field. But so I wanted to go to medical school. While I was there trying to keep my grades up. I mean, I was good. It was like a 3.3 is what I had.
Your dad chimed in. He said he cut me.
He got me.
I don't know why. I don't remember what we said that he heard that he said that, but I wanted to acknowledge him. He pops in the chat.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll stay here for a bit.
Good. Hang out with us.
Yeah, so I had like a 3.3 and that's not competitive for medical school. So I'm like, crap, what do I do?
A 3.3.
Yeah.
Holy Hannah.
Yeah, I think it was like a 3.5.
I skated by on
First step.
C's. I was like, CD, baby. Just
Yeah.
get it done.
Well, see, that was the problem was that I had a 3.3 overall, but like my major GPA was like a 3. And that's like the important one. Like that
Mhm.
should have been like a 3.8 or something. So struggling with that. And then I was like, what do I do next? Because I'm not going to.
Oh, from his friends list. He said you cut him from his friends list.
Honestly, he's probably next.
Yeah. You're the next. You better hope he doesn't make a friend and you're gone. You should keep track of who you cut to add somebody else.
Yeah, well, there's been like frequent flyers, like they'll come back and they'll be like, hey, I don't have you as a friend. I'm like, oh yeah, like
What
how's it
happened?
going?
I must have got hacked.
Yeah. usually I'm straight up with them if they ask me. I'll be like, yeah, we just don't talk, so I delete you. And they're like, oh, okay, so I respect that.
Yeah.
And then I just add them.
Do you remember who you cut to add her?
Yeah,
Let's put him on blast.
That's probably a good question. I don't know.
probably X.
Oh, yeah,
those
just-
places.
Replace the women.
It just swaps.
That's
them out.
super smart.
That's funny.
I like that.
I wonder who it was. It's probably somebody that I used to always drink with in the bar.
It's probably like Taylor Pasica because he was the last one on the show.
Cancel him.
Yeah, he's
I wonder- sorry, Seeks, if we're not friends, but I don't know if we are.
You just outed yourself.
Yeah, I
Now
know.
everyone's gonna be checking their social
I know, yeah,
media.
make sure. And if we're not friends, please send me another friend request. I'm sure there's some people that could be deleted.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're like you're standing firm on that. Like, no, he will 100%.
Yeah.
Someone has to go.
Yeah. 150 is that number. I'm not gonna leave that.
I'm gonna creep on your friends list later and
70.
just see who's
Yeah,
there.
see who's there. It's funny because especially like meeting all of her friends, they'll start sending me like some
Be
Facebook.
like, fuck.
He won't add them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of them that like they'll just know me and they'll be like, oh, Kelly's got a
Like
boyfriend.
my coworkers.
Yeah, like I'll just add him and I'll be like, Kelly, I never met this person before.
I'm like, Adam.
Yeah,
He's
just
like,
add
"No."
them. And I'm like, I can't until I meet them.
Yeah. It's breaking the rules.
Yeah, I got a very strict social media.
Yeah.
You're making me want to restart social media.
Yeah, no, like, trust me, it clears the mind. It
Yeah.
helps you get off of all of it.
I'm sorry. Let's go back to education.
Yeah. So essentially I wasn't going to be a competitive applicant for medical school. So I was like, what do I do? So I went to some sort of like networking event and the co-director of the drug discovery and development program at Drexel was there and she's an alumni of Albright. And I told her I was interested in like pharmaceuticals and how drugs affect the body. She's like, oh, well, we got this program all about drug discovery and development. I was like, oh, it's like, that sounds great. She's like, yeah, just come down. We'll interview you and we'll see if you're good. I was like, oh crap, an interview. And that's what I was already fearful of is like an applicant trying to get accepted somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
What, the interview process scares you?
well, it did just because I knew I wasn't competitive. But now I could talk about myself well enough and leverage myself to sound
See,
good.
I always wanted the interview because on paper, like if you look at my resume, like I'm not educated past college, but I know personality wise, if we sit down and talk, golden.
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
Yeah.
that connection will be there for sure.
Mhm.
And that's where I started to. Once I started like the studying interviews and like social interactions and like human psychology, I was like, interviews are great. And I was like, you could just talk and talk for days, and people, their favorite topic to talk about
Yeah.
is themselves.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I'll just ask them a question. They're like, yeah, that's so cool. And once there's like a connection,
I learned
like,
that in high school.
Oh, see,
So we talked about high school at Taylor in the last one, but it was just like, I like with Mr. I don't know if you ever had Mr. Leck.
Mr. Leck.
Mr. Leck. So Mr. Leck was an economics teacher, and he literally would give you a book and be like, page 67, second paragraph, and just start going. He had his book memorized.
Was he an author on it? Or did he
No,
just,
he just remembered his
impressive.
curriculum to that point. And I remember looking at our VOTEC class and I said, we're fucked. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, we need to devise a plan to get him to not do this because we will never pass.
Yeah.
Like we're,
If he knows it inside out.
and I just remember looking, I'm like, listen, Mr. Leck, we're VOTEC kids. We're not going to be college prep. We're not going to be business.
Yeah.
I said, what you need to do is you need to take your curriculum and just make like 10 questions and then take us to the library and let us research on computers to get that hands-on feeling of what we're going to experience as VOTEC kids.
That's
I
smart.
made that completely up
Oh.
because I wanted to Google and just cheat.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was all about it.
Wow.
And then he had a student teacher fill in who was Mrs. Fowler.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. you're familiar-
Jen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Familiar with her.
And she immediately sniffed this out. And she was a thorn in my side. I
Oh,
love you to
no.
death, but you were a thorn. So I said to her, I'm like, you're fucking this up for us. Right? And she's like,
cut the shit.
I was like, cut your shit. And she's like, I'll kick you out of class. And I was like, Jen, you better not. She goes, you're out. And she'd kick me out. I would literally walk in class and she'd be like, Tony. And I go, Jennifer. And she'd kick me right out. Because like I've known her since I'm a kid, like from the firehouse.
Wow.
And I remember I pulled Mr. Leck aside. I'm like, listen, she's not good. She's not good for us. Like this is you're changing the future of education by doing what you're doing. And he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna tell her to worry about the college prep kids, and I'm gonna keep things the way they are for you. And I was like, thank God, because I was gonna fail this class. Pass like a 90 because we would literally, and he's probably not. He's not stupid. He's not a stupid guy. He probably 100% knew, and he knew we didn't give a shit about his class. So we would literally just take the floppy disk
Nice.
and pass it to each other. And just change the font and layout change, and just hand the same thing in, and we all get hundreds.
Wow.
Yeah, but Mrs. Is she still going by Miss Fowler? Is that still there?
I have no idea.
I don't know. It might be different. I don't know. But she almost sabotaged us.
Yeah, I love a good loophole. Or like an
That's
exploiting of the system.
That's all I did in school.
Yeah, when I was at Albright, so I wanted to be an RA so bad because I knew there was power that came with it. And I knew if I became a part of the system, then I could exploit the system.
Mhm.
So I became an RA my junior year. I was like an alternate or something my sophomore year. Essentially, I wasn't good enough yet. I was like, okay, I'll wait a year.
Yeah.
Then my junior and senior year I was. And my senior year was my best year because I was like the RA of the upperclassmen, like apartment housing. And we had our own apartment. And then I had like a fraternity on top of us. And then I was in charge of like a few of the fraternity apartment rooms that they were in. And it was great because whenever they would throw parties, I'd be working with them. I'd be like, yo, I was like, this is who's on duty tonight. I was like, this is when they're going to do the rounds. I was like, this is when you got to throw the party. And I was like, if I hear them coming by, like, I'll give you a knock on the door. I'll text you. Yeah, something like a call outside. And then they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. And then it all started because the one time I was coming back from the gym and I pull up into my parking spot and it's right in front of the apartment and I see a bunch of the fraternity guys like unloading beer from their trunk. And I get out of the car and they're just go, oh shit. And I see them like trying to hide it quick. I walk over to the trunk and I grab the 2 cases. I'm like, let's go. And they're like, oh crap, like what's happening? And I'm like, are you going to buzz me in? We got to carry this up to your room. And they're like, what's happening? Is he a cool one? And I took them up and then I carried their beer up and that's when they like realized I'm like a cool RA.
Yeah.
So we developed.
It's kind of like, listen, if people are going to break the rules.
Yeah,
And this is something I learned at my job. I've learned coaching soccer. I've learned people are going to be people, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, as they get older, they forget that they were kids at one point in time.
Very much so.
And people have to experience life. You're never going to tell someone not to do something because it's against the rules. People need to figure that out.
Very
like,
true.
Me and my little brother are 11 years apart. And I would be like, don't you fucking dare do this or do that. And he went and did it anyway. And that's exactly what I would have done as well.
Yeah.
But now that he's like old enough, like he still vapes. And I'm like, you're an idiot. You think you look cool like doing that? Like, but you have to, but if you say, hey, listen, like, I know you're going to drink. I know you're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to help you out, but don't be a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it.
Don't disrespect me because I know you're breaking the rules, but don't take it out of context. Like act like an adult with it. I'm going to give you the leeway, but I need you to be responsible with what you're doing. And 9 times out of 10, people will be like, hey, they were cool, man. They helped us out. Yeah. So when we have our party, don't be fucking loud. Just keep cool. You know what I mean? And that's 9 times out of 10 what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it because I knew it's going to happen regardless, whether you say no or yes to them. But I wanted to make sure that if they were going to do it, it was going to be at the right time under right circumstances.
Yeah.
Like if I had friends that were studying in the same apartment, I'm like, guys, no party tonight. I have a friend who's studying, and they're like, okay, cool, yeah, totally respect that, understandable. Tomorrow night though, we're good. I was like, yeah, totally. Have a
You
biggest
come to that
rager.
common
Yeah,
ground.
exactly,
Mhm.
and you get less pushback then because there's that communication. But I had friends who were RAs of other buildings, and they were like, oh, I'm dealing with another party tonight, and they just like won't like stop, and they keep like disrespecting me, and I'm like, well, maybe you should let them party or tell them not to tonight and do it another time. But
Yeah.
the moment you give that pushback is when
Yep.
they
If you
start
come in
pushing
hot,
back,
we're like,
yeah.
if you have one,
Yeah.
I will shut this shit down. And then it turns into Animal House. You're
Yeah,
like,
oh,
like
absolutely.
you become the brunt of the joke, and
Exactly.
they're gonna
Yeah,
torture you.
You're like, oh,
Yeah.
let's get them wound up tonight.
Yeah,
Sort of
we're gonna throw beer cans at his door.
Yeah. And they would. They
Yeah.
would if I were to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah. You walk in, you're like, is your beer? Yeah. Shotgun one, you're like, don't be fucking idiots, and leave, and you're like, I like that guy.
Yeah. Good guy.
Yeah. So what you said you're into like the science and stuff. So what is your, like you said, pharmaceuticals? What are
Yeah.
what drove you to that path? Because it is kind of cool to learn like we can have a pill for anything at some point. You're
Yeah.
you're getting us to the world of Jetsons, or we can just take a pill for something.
Yeah. That's at least like the goal is like personalized medicine, or like the silver bullet, they call it, like the one pill that could like just essentially the personalized medicine is like you would get one pill that you would take once a day that would be a treatment for all of your ailments.
If you make the
like
limit,
hypertension, if you have like
if you make the
diabetes.
limitless pill, can I have it?
Yeah, so I researched that so much
That's
when
such a
that
good
movie
movie.
first came out, because I'm like, I need this. Like,
Yeah.
I can only imagine what I could do with this type of thing, and it's impossible. But sadly,
Where do you fall on the lines of like medical marijuana when it comes to like, because like from experience, I've had growing up with my joint disorder, every time I went to a doctor, like, we're gonna put you on opioids, like you're gonna be on pain pills, and I was like, I don't want to walk that path. I've seen too many people
it's
go
not
down
good.
a terrible road with that. And at the one point in time, I was desperate and I did take pills,
Mhm.
and then I was at the point where I was kind of like, oh, this pill's working, but it works better if I have a beer or two.
Yeah.
And then like I go back to the doctor like, hey, your kidneys and liver look really rough,
Mhm.
and you're 30 years old. And I was like, they're like, what are you doing? Like, are you
Yeah.
drinking a lot? I was like, yeah, and mix it with pills because there's nothing you can do for me for my joint pain. And they're
Mhm.
like, yeah, you're gonna be in trouble in a couple of years. I'm like, well, I'm in trouble if I don't take anything, and I'm
Yeah.
in pain. I have to go to work. I have to figure things out. And then I kind of switched over to like the CBD and stuff,
Mhm.
and it's been like a game changer.
Yeah. So the opioid thing's like huge. That's a double-edged sword, because obviously you don't want the patient to feel pain, but the side effects and the addictive nature to it is like, you almost don't want to prescribe them at that point. It's
Yeah.
like, would you rather live with the pain or the addictive nature?
Yeah.
But yeah, as for like the CBD and medical marijuana, I'm all about it. It's so far, I mean, the science, like the CBD science is really good. At least what's being out there now, like the mechanism is super cool of like learning the actual, like how the drugs is in the body and the receptors and how it affects cells. It's just like, whoa, this is super cool. But obviously to the public, they don't want to know that. They're like, is it going to work for me? Is
Yeah.
what they want to know. But yeah, so far, like everything that I've read about it and learned about it, it's amazing. I mean, it's
the only thing
cure-all.
that's kind of a downfall when it comes to like marijuana and becoming legalized fully recreationally and medically is like, if you drink beer, we can all drink beer and we're pretty much going to have the same side effect
Mhm.
to that beer. You know what I mean? For the most part, like, you're going to be the same person. But if we all smoke the same strain of weed, depending on your genetic
I
makeup,
was just going to say
we
that,
may
yeah.
all have a different reaction to that
Yeah.
weed. Like, where some people are like, it helps my depression. Like, I'm suicidal thoughts. I have schizophrenia.
Mhm.
This is going to help me. But if we all suffer from schizophrenia or depression or this, and we all smoke it, it may trigger worse things in her than it does for me.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah.
that's kind of where it's like, some people are like, it's the devil, like, because one person had a negative kind of
A bad experience, yeah.
effect to it, and the other one's like, this is changing my life.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, well, where do you find that balance?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And I know people, it's not an abusive drug, but people do abuse it.
Yeah.
Like it essentially it's everything in balance, like everything in moderation, they always say.
Yep.
Like, and that's when it's its best, is if you could learn like to moderate it and take it when you need it, and then learn to live without it as well. It should be like, most people should be doing it and
Yeah.
using it, because even when I first started training and I was like so sore. And I would be like, I'd come back from, so I did like MMA for a little bit and I'm doing jujitsu now. And I'd come back from training and my body would just be aching because I'm,
Tons of jujitsu guys smoke.
yeah. And it's because of this, because like you're grappling with people and there could be, you could go with a person that's 140 pounds that night. And then the next match is a person that's 240 and you're like, oh crap. And they're throwing the shoulder pressure on you and you're just like, the wind is out of you. Your joints are all aching. And I took CBD for the longest time, and I swear that stuff, I would wake up and feel fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, holy cow, like I just got smashed last night, and now I'm like, I feel great. But then I haven't been taking it for a good bit now because I just haven't bought it in a while, and I'm so sore when I wake up. Like I'll just lay there in bed for like an extra 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, I take a few deep breaths before I get up. I feel like I'm 80 trying to get out of bed sometimes.
Yeah, I use this site called Medterra, and it's like a morning pill, or I take it like by tablet. And it gives you like the energy and the boost in the morning. And then I take one for night and it has like the melatonin in it.
Okay.
And it's amazing. And then if I have like a really bad pain day, I take the droppers and I'm golden.
No way.
It's really like a huge game changer.
Wow.
Yeah. They have tournaments. It's funny you brought up like MMA. I don't know the actual name of the tournament. They have a tournament where the only requirement to be in the tournament is you must be high when you're on the mat.
No.
Like they
No
smoke
way.
before they get on the mat.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts. And it is some of the most intense competitions.
Oh, I'm sure.
They see.
I know a few guys that I train with now are they'll smoke before they come in and train, and they just like, I don't know, they're just kind of like, it's funny because like usually when the professor or the coach is kind of going through the moves and like teaching us like what we're doing for that night, like they're just kind of like big chilling on the mat. Like usually everyone's like sitting up like attentive, and they're just like laying like this, like it's just laying on the mat, like kicking their legs back and forth sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And then it's just
depending on what they take. So like you have the indica, sativa, and then like a hybrid.
Yeah.
If you do the sativa, it's higher CBD than it is THC. And a lot of people use the sativa to get the energy boost.
and
get through their day.
I see.
And then you do the indica, and they say indica is on the couch. So if you smoke that, you're just gonna be like, it's more of a relaxing effect, and that's when people are like, yo,
No way.
yeah, it's like more of the slow down, go to sleep at night.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. So depending on which one and some people take the one that slows you down, and because they probably have like ADD, it speeds them back
It
up.
calms them down a good bit.
Or no, it gets them fired up.
Oh, okay.
They have
I
like
see
the
what you're
reverse
saying.
effects.
Yeah. No, and that's good. That's exactly why I've always read it should be like a tool to like your whole package. Like you should utilize it so that you get the benefits from it, not that you're like ruining your life because of it.
What is a medication in your studies and your research that you've come across that you're like, oh, this is going to be nuts?
Actually, so it's called Modafinil. It's prescribed for jet lag, but we had a guy come in and I forget what he was talking about. One of the lectures within the drug discovery pipeline, we had to have different people come in from like different pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, Merck, all the big names. And he came in and he was lecturing to us about Modafinil. And Modafinil is prescribed for jet lag. But he's like, yeah, I go to my doctor and I get it prescribed for jet lag, of course. And I was like, well, there were some air quotes in that one. Like, what does that mean? And
he's like, you getting high on this?
Yeah. And he was describing it as like the mechanism is like unknown, which is funny that they would even have a drug that they prescribe to people, and the mechanism, they're like, we don't know how it works. It just does this, which you could get away with because as long as the side effects aren't super bad and it's doing some sort of benefit to the individual, you're like, oh, cool. It's like, yeah, give it to them then. But so Modafinil, he used it. He's like Adderall. It's essentially like it works like an Adderall without the shaky. Like,
I've heard a lot of people, if you don't abuse Adderall, they say it's a pretty intense, like good drug.
Really?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that did it, obviously with studying, and it's huge within like the medical field because all the kids are like, I gotta get an A type mentality. Yeah. But it's essentially without that like shaky, like whatever you want to call it, like overload on the central nervous system. Without that, like I used to take Modafinil because I got it from like a shady source, and I was like, I gotta try it. I was like, because this guy was talking it up like it was the best thing. It's like, this is a miracle drug. Back to the Limitless thing. I was like, this is the closest thing to the Limitless drug. So I got some, and I would take like half a dose because I don't want to take a full dose just in case if my body did have some genetic makeup that
take half, wait an hour, and then see where you stand.
And I'd be like, wow, like if I take it for like a week at a half dose and nothing happens, I'm like, cool, maybe a full dose next week. And I felt great. Like I'd be like locked in, focused, and I wouldn't even realize like hours would go by, and I'd be like studying or in lab, and I'm just like locked in. but I could sleep at the drop of a hat. Like
Mhm.
where Adderall, you're like, oh, I have to stay up because I can't go to sleep.
Well,
Like,
lets you stay up. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you don't get that tired feel
yeah.
or hungry.
And the Modafinil I had that super focus without the like, I can't sleep. I was just like, oh, cool, I could take a nap right now.
You can just turn it off.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
incredible. It was so cool, but haven't taken it since then. But
Why?
I don't know. It was kind of expensive when I first got it. Luckily, I had some like student loan money. I was like, oh,
Buy
guess-
drugs at your student.
instead of buying groceries for this week, maybe I'll like throw some money at this.
Yeah, I'll take some definitely. I'll earn money.
Dad's face palming.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Listen,
Yeah,
there's no. That's fine.
yeah. He's if anything, he's like, wow, my son's like loophole in this.
I will
system."
say this: your dad. When every time I would see him, I'm like, how you doing? Like how like I would always ask about you, and he is the super dad proud moment.
Oh, he's
Every single time I would like, how's your kid? He's like, oh my god, he's the smartest fucking human on the planet. And he would talk you up for an hour, and I'm like, it's good, man. So I was always keeping tabs on you through your
Mhm.
dad, and your dad's just super proud of you.
Yeah, without a doubt, one of my biggest fans.
Yeah,
No doubt.
it is really cool to get that affirmation because every dude wants that from their dad.
Oh,
You know what I mean, everyone wants
absolutely, yeah.
I'm proud of you, son. You know what I mean, and you get it every single chance. Your dad will make sure he
Oh,
lets
for
you know
sure,
every
yeah.
single time he sees you, which is cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of times I remember like growing up and I'd like do something and I'd be like, you know what? I wonder if my dad's gonna be like, hey, I'm proud of you. And I would like go to him and he wouldn't say anything. I'm like, huh. I'm like, well, what did I do right there? And it was just like, I felt like my dad was always 10 steps ahead. Like he would like come back from the bar, give me like wisdom talks. And, like,
drunk
his
wisdom talk.
intoxication, yeah. But they were like,
Where's you, Sean?
and they were like,
I'm gonna tell
honestly,
you something.
he's dancing in the bar. For some, they were some of the best talks because he would. It's just like he didn't have any like inhibitions. He was just like letting it free flow, and he would. There was just so many times that he would just like keep going and keep talking. I'm like what? Like I didn't understand it then, but then like years down the line, like an event would happen, some sort of experience, and I'd be like, oh, like wow, my dad told me like mind over matter, and I'm like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Well, if this is too personal, we can stop here. But you were a product of parents splitting up at one point
Correct.
in time. And what age did that happen?
14,
Yeah.
I think.
Because I remember during our time when we were like working together, you were kind of going through that as well.
Yeah, I think it was 13 or 14.
And I will say this, like I don't know like every house is different, right? I don't
Mhm.
know what happens behind closed doors, but I will say one of the things I loved about your parents, just as an outsider who was pretty
Mhm.
much associating with you, is it is not obviously easy for a kid to watch their parents split up. Right? It's super hard,
Yeah.
but your parents are just the biggest cheerleaders of you when it comes to like showing that support.
Mhm.
And even though there's like I don't know, like I said, I don't know if their divorce was messy or if it was,
Yeah.
but it never showed that through you. Like you were
Yeah.
like both your parents are still like your biggest supporters. You still love both your parents. They're like it seemed like it wasn't like an ugly thing to where like it affected you at a point. So like kudos to
Yeah.
them as like, hey, maybe this isn't working for us because sometimes people stay together for kids
Mhm.
and it's ugly and it just
Yeah.
and then the kid goes up to resent both of his parents. So I always like going through that and now that we're older we can have like an adult conversation about like there's something I was like kind of proud of like with you like and your parents like you just come from a good background of your mom and you.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's like kudos to them. Like you said, I think they were aware of the situation. They're like, it doesn't involve him. Let's not like get him involved.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't even remember, like, it wasn't bad at all. It was
Mhm.
just kind of like, my mom's like, I'm leaving. And then my dad's like, okay. And then I just remember that happening. And then I just like carried on. I was like, gotta focus on basketball and Call of Duty. Like, that's
Yeah.
what I do right
I
now.
got 2 houses now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's it. And then,
Double Christmas.
yeah. And it was never anything like crazy. It was just like, I kind of just carried on with my day. But I've always been that type of individual. Like my dad has always said, like, just focus on what you're doing.
Mhm.
And just like one of his talks that he gave me.
I've always been like I'll say I'll never have kids. I don't want kids. It's not my thing. But like when people are like, you got to beat your kids, you got to smack them in the mouth if they talk off or if they're going to be an asshole. Like I'm a firm believer in have a conversation with your kid.
Oh yeah.
Treat like you know what I mean. Like talk to them because if you instill fear and violence and abuse
Mhm.
to make a kid be what you want it to be, you've already failed.
Yeah.
And I think you're a good example of that. Where
Mhm.
like I think if you're a parent and you're just your kid's cheerleader, like listen, like I know it's like rainbows and butter, like you know what I mean, like anything you want to do, you can do.
Mhm.
I'm telling you right now, if you put your mind to it, you'll do it. And
Yeah.
I have your support, and I love you, and we're gonna get it done.
Mhm.
And I truly feel positive affirmation instead of being fearful of them and
Mhm.
being afraid is always going to be the better result at
Oh,
the end of the day.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, each of them played their own key role into like what I was doing. Like my dad, like I said, he used to have like sophisticated talks with me, and he was very big on like the mind. He was always like mind over matter. Like if you could control the mind, you can control anything else in the world.
Like
And
Bruce Lee,
it was a very like,
Ed Lee over here.
yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with like Stoicism,
Mm.
but he was like one of the like, I don't even know if he's familiar with Stoicism, but what he taught me was like the foundational principles of Stoicism,
Yeah.
which is like this like ancient practice of like, if you can't control it, let it go. Like you can only control, and you can only feel and worry about what you can do.
That's literally me since I'm 19 years old.
Yeah, and there's
I've been living that. I didn't even know what it was called.
yeah, there's a whole practice about it with Marcus Aurelius, which is a big name that's tossed around with it. But the Stoicism is exactly what he was teaching me, of just like control your mind, like emotional intelligence. Like you could feel an emotion and just not get like, you could feel it, recognize it, but don't like lash out.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better at that because I am still like me, and if I
Yeah.
feel something or if
Yeah.
something's not going the way I want, I'm gonna speak out on it.
Mhm.
And I don't like, sometimes it's like I don't give a shit what the casualty is. Like it's like a shotgun shot. Like I'm feeling angry, bow, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "I don't care. We're gonna talk about it." You know what I mean? And they're like, "Well, you didn't have to shoot the gun. You could have the conversation." So I have to learn how to not do the action,
Yeah.
but still be able to speak about how I'm feeling about that situation.
Yeah.
And that's something I still struggle with.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
that's he taught me at like such a young age to like be aware of that stuff. So I have just years of that in the back of my mind of like, because I used to get angry and cry. Like
Mhm.
I used to just like sit there, and somebody would be like, I don't know, just doing something stupid, that I'd get like angry, and I would just sit there and cry, and they're like, "What's wrong?" I'd be like, "I'm angry." And they're
I'm
like,
mad.
yeah, it's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like,
Crying.
"This is what I
Yeah.
do."
When I start crying, I'm fighting. Like I get angry to the point where I cry, and then that switch turns off, and
Yeah,
I'm no longer
red.
there. And then I'm throwing fists at my dad in my living room.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a rough like
Yeah.
me and my pops had a rough go. Where because we're both very bullheaded,
Mhm.
and we're both very opinionated, and we're both very like, this is what I believe and this is what I believe. And if I truly believe in this, I'm going to talk till I'm blue in the face. And we would just butt heads.
Mhm.
And there's been plenty of times like actually right before I started this podcast, we had a pretty big falling out. And I didn't talk to him for like 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough. Like him or my mom. I didn't talk to either one of them.
Wow.
And we put it aside, and then I was like, "Hey, I'm doing this podcast," and then we start doing the beer one. I was like, "Yo, Dad, you want to come drink beer and the podcast?"
Hell yeah.
And we had a few episodes where it's like we got hammered, and it was
Mhm.
just me and him at the table,
Yeah.
and we just like I learned stuff about him like through like how he was raised,
Mhm.
and then I kind of like, because I was learning more about psychology. Like I wish if I would have went to school, that's what I would have went for, because I'm really interested in like human
Oh,
interaction.
it's so fascinating.
And there was so much stuff that I was doing at an age where I wasn't even realize I was doing it,
Mhm.
because I was just trying to dissect how people feel and how you can
Yeah.
change people's experiences and stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, holy fuck, I was kind of ahead of my time, and I wasn't even realize I was doing it. And then I was like, oh shit, okay, I can see why I had all this resentment from my parents, because like most of my childhood, it was like these, and I'm not trying to like bash them, but I was like, these fuckers don't know what they're doing. They're guessing.
Mhm.
And I wanted answers. And I was always someone who seeked an answer. If you couldn't give it to me, I would be upset about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, he's more worried about this and that, and she's more worried about this and that. And then my
Mhm.
brother was born. And then it was like, for them, it was like, oh, we have a second chance at being good parents.
Yeah, yeah.
And we kind of figured it out with this asshole. So it was
Mhm.
kind of like, hey, you're old enough, go figure your life out, and then we're gonna focus on this one. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, now I'm abandoned. So then at the time I was going through teenage angst, and I was like,
Oh.
fuck the world.
Yeah.
Listen to punk rock and hip hop, and
Yeah.
yeah. So it was a long time where I held a lot of resentment to my parents, and then I started learning more about what my parents went through, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, they were 18 years old. She was still in high school. They met, bump fronts. Here I am. They weren't prepared for me. Like
Yeah.
they were still figuring it out.
They were
Mhm.
kids themselves.
Exactly. Like they were thrusted into this thing, and of course, like old school, like, hey, you got her pregnant, now you got to be with her for life.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's got to be hard,
Yeah.
And they all had their family situations where my dad's dad was kind of a piece of shit, so he was really never taught how to be a man because his dad never fucking was around. So it was like,
Yeah.
holy fuck, like this is deep,
Mhm.
And then so it was something that I didn't figure out until much later, where I
Mhm.
felt like your dad was kind of like more upfront and had conversations with you
Oh, for sure.
from a
Yeah.
younger age.
Yeah, and he was, like I said, those conversations, they molded me. They made me who I am without a doubt. Like
Yeah.
even with like he's big on work ethic, big on the mindset, making sure like everything's like clear up there and focusing on what you have to focus on, get the job done, next task.
Yeah.
Very military-esque mindset where he like how your parents got it from their parents, he got it right from Pop.
Yeah.
Like Pop is very military driven work ethic. He just used to like commute down the Bethlehem Steel, work like 16-hour days and then come back and then go back the next day. It's just work ethic is wild.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then you have him who's kind of like the tough love, work ethic, like workaholic type mentality. And then you have my mom she was my therapist. Like I was a huge mama's boy growing up because I'm like, I got to talk to someone. And I'm like, if I talk to my dad, like he might call me a little bitch. I can't do that. I'm like, so mom, like, let's talk about something. And
Yeah.
even to this day, like I'll go to her about just random stuff. And it's not like my dad can't give me good advice. It's just,
You need the yin to your yang.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I need to hear it. Yeah. Sometimes I need to hear my mom go like, oh, you're the best person in the world. Like, you're
Yeah.
so great. I'm like, oh, thanks, mom.
God, I wish I got that. I love you to death, mom. So I was like, I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. But see, like, even like when we would grow up or when I was growing up, my mom, she has that Irish fuse in her. She's got that short temper. And when I was younger, I had that same thing. So we used to clash on like a good bit of stuff. And I remember the one time,
I'm Irish Italian. I'm a bomb.
oh, you're just loud.
Yeah. I'm loud and I'm
Loud.
stubborn.
Yeah. It was April Fool's Day and I was watching like Yu-Gi-Oh before school or like Saved by the Bell, I think it was. I was watching.
Everyone watched it.
Yeah, before school.
Timeless.
And she's like, hey, school's canceled. I was like, what? No way. And I was so locked in. I didn't know what day it was. It could have been a Saturday. And she was just like, yeah, no school. I was like, wow, great. So I'm sitting there and I'm like enjoying Saved by the Bell. And then she's like, Ty, are you ready for school? I'm like, there is no school. She's like, April Fool's. And I turned around with the remote and I threw it at her. And she was just like, what did you just do? And I was like, oh, shit.
It's like, no, I have to kill you.
Yeah. Because that was just like the initial short temper reaction. I was like, oh, no, what did I do? And then she just yelled at me. And I was like, yeah, that probably wasn't the best approach to that.
You ever see Austin's scar on his lip?
Yeah.
You know how I got that? My Irish is short term. So when I was illegally going to school in North Schuylkill, I didn't want to sleep at my grandma's house anymore because it was not a good place to live. We'll just say it was not clean, like an episode of Hoarders. It was pretty rough. So I was like, I don't want to sleep there no more because it's kind of gross. So I would come home and I would sleep in Monty City. And then I'd have to wake up extra early so my dad would then drive me to North Schuylkill. So for some reason, Austin was awake in the morning and he was still in diapers. He was a baby. Because me and my brother are 11 years apart. So he's just like, I'm sleeping on the couch and he's just chucking toys at me.
Oh.
And I'm sleeping. He just hit me in the face with toys. And he hit me with this car, like a NASCAR toy. And I just got it and I just kind of over the shoulder fired it. And all I hear is
dead shot.
And he just like, and I was like, what happened? And I look up and I just wake up instantly. And I look and his face is just covered in blood. I hit him with the tail end of the car right in the mouth and split him. He had to go get stitches.
Oh.
I felt like such a fucking prick. I was so upset. Yeah, I felt like such an asshole.
Funny.
I smoked him with like a die-cast car.
Good shot though.
Yeah, over the shoulder. That's like the story of our life. Like my dad, because like my thing with my dad was like I have to do what he does to fit in, but everything my dad's into, like I'm not. So like he's like golf. I'm like I'll try, and I'm like I fucking hate this. Let's ride bikes. Let's be firefighters. I'm like I don't like any of that. You know what I mean? The only thing I got into is because he always talked about basketball and he loved basketball. And then when I started playing basketball, I'm like, come play it. He's like, nah, I'm not playing basketball. Like, you fucking, this is the one thing.
We got this.
Yeah, and he would never play with me. And he actually was he was a decent ball player. Like he had a good outside shot and stuff. Yeah. But I never got really a chance to play with him too much. But which is crazy to think about. But yeah, anyway, so we're all golfing. It's me, him, and Austin. We're out fucking the putting range and the chipping range at Mountain Valley.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, make sure your brother's out of the way for your chip. I'm like, I can't fucking hit this ball. There's no way I'm even going to make contact with it. He's safe. I'm not even going to hit with it. And I chip out and I just drive it. And I hit him right in the back of the arm with the ball. And I start losing it. He's like, you're a fucking dick. I told you to watch your brother. I'm like, I couldn't hit that ball to save my life. But because my brother was in the direct path, of course the universe was like, you're going to hit this fucker.
Wow.
But yeah, that was like the shit like I had with Austin. Just like there's no way. He's fine. And I just hit him. Wow, and like, like, I get in trouble. You fucking dick, you hit your brother. Like, he'll live.
My mom's done that where like the tree was the opposite way and she's trying to shoot it that way. And she's looking at that tree and she's like, oh, we're going to have the trees there. Boom, bashes it off the tree right in her dome. Like splits her. She's got a big goose egg, bust
golf?
open. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Bust open. She looked like Harry Potter with her scar. I remember those days. Her whole face black and blue. We're like, what happened? She's like, I hit the tree over there. My hole was over there. Like just the weirdest way to hit the ball. Right back in.
Now, did you grow up playing sports or anything?
I played soccer and I ran.
Soccer. That was my game. I loved
Yeah.
it, and I couldn't play anymore because school didn't have it.
Oh.
Yeah, I had. That's why I illegally went to a school so I can keep playing soccer, and our school wouldn't provide it.
Yeah, we barely had funding for the sports that we had.
Yeah, but they could have easily just been like, you can go to this school and play, because they did it with swimming, they did it with diving, they did it with every other sport. They just wouldn't do it with soccer, because the thing is our area, everybody wants to be a football program. And nobody's a football program. We all like realistically, we're like, who's the best of the worst team in football? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Tallest midget.
yeah, like, we're like, oh, cool, we beat Shenandoah, we beat Marion, but then we go to like states and we get like house 145-0. It's just like, but like if we in soccer, like our area is so good, such a good soccer rich area, but like a lot of schools are afraid to pull the trigger and put a soccer program in because it happened once or twice where they put a program in and they had no football team anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone played soccer. And they're like, well, can't have that.
Yeah.
We're a soccer school or we're a football school. It's like, are you though?
Yeah.
Like Shenandoah's hanging on by a thread. They're like, we're still a football program. Like, no, you're not. With that large Latin community, you are a soccer program and no one's going to play football at your school. They're all going to nativity and they're playing soccer.
Yeah.
Yep. They got to pull the trigger. It's a good sport. I'm actually shocked that Monterey and Shenandoah aren't one school yet.
Yeah. Well, I heard rumors that they were supposed to.
It's been rumors since I'm in school.
Yeah. Like, I know. I was talking to Grammy B about it, and she mentioned something about them merging. I was like, oh, that'd be interesting. I was like, how do you take two rival schools and put them together? They're like, okay, now go and sit in the same classroom.
Yeah.
Walk the same halls.
I don't think it would be terrible. I really don't. I think the generation of kids now are different. Like, I think if you would have put my generation in, because I don't want to say like we're the last generation of it, but like I feel like every generation after that was kind of like everyone, like it was a different infrastructure in school. Like nobody was really doing the things we were doing. Like everyone kind of became friends with one another, and academics were actually important, and people actually gave a shit. And like, I mean, you still had a few kids who were like I'm not doing any of this, but for the most part, like everyone kind of seemed like they looked out for each other. You know, it was a different, like when I went to school. If Monterey and Shenandoah played and there weren't enough cops there, there was a fight. Like kids would just fist fight. Like before the stadium changed, you used to be able to walk around the entire track and go around the entire thing. And that back spot was like where there's nobody there. That's where the fights were.
The fight corner.
And then they changed it where you have to now walk this way around to get to the visiting bleachers, and they just completely shut that side off.
Oh.
Yeah, it was bad.
Wow.
We used to have to travel, like when we left Shenandoah, we'd have to go down through Lost Creek and then in through Girardville and then come up that way.
All
because
the way
if they drove us through center of town, we got hit with bricks and stuff.
Oh.
Wow.
It was bad.
That's wild.
It was a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like the crazy thing is like growing up too, it's like, oh, Monty City, like the toughest kids in Monty City would go fight the toughest kids from Shenandoah, and they would just meet somewhere and fight.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, Pottsville is tough. And like all these Shenandoah kids picked a big fight with Pottsville kids, and they're like, "Yo, Monty City, you want to come join us?" And we're like, "Yeah, fuck Pottsville." And then it turned into that. So it was weird. It was a different, like I said, like my spot was kind of like still like the old school, and then like the years after that kind of changed for the next couple generations, where it wasn't really like you can go to a football game and I think the last time there was a fight at a football game was probably like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
no one fights anymore.
I don't remember a fight at a football game at least.
Oh, that was every football game.
Yeah,
it'd be weird if there wasn't a fight. Like we had a group of kids who would go looking for one from the other school.
See, that's wild.
Yeah, like didn't even give a shit what the score was. They're like, yo, playing Pine Grove, we're gonna fight one of those fucking farm boys. You know,
that blows my mind.
It's like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, I did once I started training and doing like the grappling, it's changed my whole mentality, because I used to be like 195, like a thicker, bigger kid. I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I think I could hold my own in a fight. Like, I'm pretty intimidating. I'm strong. Like, I could bench press and squat weight. And then no matter what you work out in the gym, nothing can tear you to take a punch. Yeah, no, exactly.
Can't teach that.
When I used to train at Quakertown, at Reality Martial Arts, and I remember walking in my first day, and it's obviously super intimidating. Like you walk into those gyms, and there's some like killers, like intimidation factor, like A+. I'm like, oh shit, like these guys are horrific. And I remember walking in, and Chuck Glass, he's the coach there, and he was like, do you have a gi? I was like, yeah, I got a gi. And he's like, okay, you're rolling today. I was like, well, like we don't have a foundation course, like a baby course or anything. He's like,
this is foundation.
yeah, he's like, no, you're just gonna roll today. I was like, okay. And I got my ass handed to me.
Did you wrestle in high school?
No.
Do you wish now you would have?
Yes.
I'm the
absolutely.
same. I would have found out more about my disorder earlier if I would have wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
But like growing up and being such a huge fan of mixed martial arts, I was like, man, what if I thought wrestling was stupid in school?
Yeah, I respect wrestlers so much now after training and going against wrestlers, just how quick their hips are and how good they are at controlling an individual.
I went to a high school wrestling match and had a fucking blast.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, why did I ever go to these in school?
Yeah, that's probably like, I wish I did that. Like I would
Yeah.
have much rather have done that than play basketball.
Dude, going to a wrestling match is way cooler than a high school football game.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Straight, it's so exciting,
Mhm.
and like the fact that like you just watch this kid get the absolute shit kicked out of him, not like he's not seriously hurt, but like just getting manhandled.
Yeah, the
And
manhandle's
then
the best
they
word.
get up and
Yeah.
then they stand up and they shake each other's hand. It's like,
Yeah.
man, like that's a huge. And now that these kids are like, because everyone knows mixed martial arts
Mhm.
and they wrestle, and then like that respect factor is now carried over,
Oh.
where it's like, oh, we get up and shake each other's hand. It's
Yeah.
like it's beautiful.
It humbles you. It
Yeah.
teaches you to like, it teaches you ain't shit. Like like that your ego is. And
There's
like,
always someone bigger.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's always bigger, stronger, faster. Like when I first started out, I just got demolished, and then it started to click a little bit. I'm like, wow, I'm getting pretty good at this thing. And then as soon as you just get a little bit of light, it's taken away from you.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh crap. And then I came out to Ann Arbor, and when I was training at URSA, I was like, when I'm at URSA Academy, it's a different type of teaching. So it's more so like they teach system based. So it's like, for these 5 weeks, we're going to work on like back takes, and we're going to work on rear naked chokes. We're going to work on sweeps from here. And then at Reality Martial Arts in Quakertown, it was just like, here's a move, rehearse it, move, drill it, and then you're just roll for 45 minutes. And they taught me how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, of the fact of like, get comfortable getting your ass kicked, because it's going to happen a lot.
Mhm.
And then once I left there and I went out to URSA, I had that in my mind where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get my ass kicked. And then I went out there with the same intensity, because in Quakertown is a super small gym. They were just grinders. They were just like, we're going to put in like hours on the mat, and that's how we're going to get better and better. And they ended up making me the type of grappler fighter that I am now, where I'm at URSA and I'm 110% intensity. Like,
Now, are you looking to just do like grapple tournament? Like, are you ever looking to like enter like a tournament or competition?
yeah, I wanted to, and then obviously everyone has their story of the COVID, like what I would have done if COVID wasn't a thing.
Now, you're just looking to stick with just you're not looking to do like mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I did a few of the striking, and I used to like box a bit before I even went out to Quakertown. I was living with my aunt and uncle at the time when I was working at Merck, and the striking's cool, but I just don't like getting punched in the head. It's not fun. Like
I'm the exact opposite. Like I get punched. Like growing up, you get into a fight,
Mhm.
obviously school, county, and you get hit, and you're like, "That's your best punch." Like it's terrifying until you get hit, and you're like, "Wow!" You're like, "Oh, if that was your good one, it's gonna be a long day."
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like that was awesome. I don't know, something about hit. Like now, sometimes you get hit, and obviously that's not the case. You get hit,
Mhm.
and you're like, what happened? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you were knocked the fuck out. But when you take that punch, and you're like, it's kind of like that barrier falls down, where he's like, oh, I just got hit,
Mhm.
and I'm here.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. I mean, and I mean, obviously, you usually don't do live sparring until you have a good, solid foundation of like some sort of stand up. And I was like, okay. I mean, I don't even consider myself a good boxer or a moderate. I sucked at stand up. That's why I went into grappling, because
I would have loved to try kickboxing,
yeah,
just because how strong my legs were. I feel like even though my
Yeah.
my hands were weak, I would have.
That's
been
what I
a
told-
pretty decent.
That's what I tell her, with her being like a soccer player and having that background. If you get that form down, it's like
Yeah, I was
you'll-
just gonna say, but my form sucks.
Yeah.
I kicked a kid in a fight when I was younger once, and I remember them like, "You're not allowed to kick." I don't want to say the term. Like, you can't kick that. Growing up in different times, like that's gay.
Yeah,
You know, 'cause obviously, all white kids in an area where
Yeah.
homophobic slurs were the way we insulted each other. It's not appropriate. Don't do it. But I'm like, that's the only thing I have.
Yeah.
Like I grew up playing soccer.
You can't do that.
I'm like that actually hurts me. I'm like, oh, you punch me in the head. It does suck. Yeah. What position did you play in soccer?
I was goalie.
I just you gave me the goalie vibes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. Are you kind of a little crazy?
Yeah.
You have to be a goalie.
I would yell at people and like bark at them.
Were you
Get out of my box?
were you a charger? Like if you were one on?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. That's the difference between a goal. Like when you're training for goalie, you're like, all right, we're gonna do goalie. We're gonna do a scrimmage, and then I'd be like, defense, push up, defense, push up, defense, push up, and then I'm like, I'd put the slowest kids on defense, and I would like, and then I put the fastest kids in the time on offense, and I'm like, as soon as this ball gets cleared, they're never catching this ball. It's gonna be a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and that's where you're like, I'm gonna see if this goalkeeper is, because if you stay your heels on the line
You're
and wait for the shot, it's like you're probably not gonna be a goalie. Now if they're like they charge out and run, I'm like, I want that psycho in my team. Yeah.
Awesome.
You got to be kind of nuts to be a goalie. You got to be prepared to get kicked in the face and the head and then run out because it's dire. It's like
stepped on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Punch people in the head. You can get punched in the head.
Yeah. You can sneak a punch in there too because you want to punch a ball out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You punch people's heads.
Yes, and they're going for a header in,
You're like,
and you're just meeting
like,
them in the face.
No way.
Going for the ball.
Wow.
Dude, soccer's
See, I never even would have considered that. Like, I just watch it. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
When they do corner kicks, it's probably the most violent and dirtiest time in soccer.
Happening in a little pit there.
Yeah, because people
they don't know where to focus, so they're not focusing on you. They're watching the ball.
I know boys soccer too. Like the second before the ball gets kicked, like someone would tug on a short, or I've heard of people checking oil. They call it, where they give a thumb in the butt, and they're like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And then that 1 second where now I have the and I get the header in. Like,
wow,
corner kicks are the most intense part of a soccer game.
Wow,
you
know, appreciation.
Yeah,
for
people stepping on each other, like stepping on each other's feet. Like,
oh yeah.
You know how in basketball you never want to step on someone's foot because you roll your ankle.
Yeah,
in soccer, you sometimes you aim for it.
I've kicked people.
Yeah.
Like
knees.
Yeah.
Slide tackles.
You just come in like if I'm going for the ball, but I kick through the ball.
You're in the way.
I shattered a kid's leg in youth soccer.
Really?
Yeah, he kept slide tackling me. I said, one more time, I'm gonna break your leg. And he goes, yeah, right. And go on the sideline, and I like as I was running, I'd pop the ball up. So like if they slid, I would pop the ball and then catch it on my down and keep running through it and go. And I did it, and he slid. And instead of running through, I just like Mario jumped. I just went straight up in the air and came down, both feet on his shin. And then I realized what I did because it was in the moment. So I faked an ankle injury. I'd screaming like I was dead. Because I knew this kid's leg was broke. And I was screaming like I'm dead. And they pulled me off. And I'm like, I'm going to go back in, coach. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I wasn't getting a card. So you have to you flop a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had a girl fall over me in recess and break her arm. And that thing was like seriously, it was so gross. I cried for her.
Yeah. I watched a kid in soccer. He went to turn to not get hit with the ball, and he didn't bring his other arm up, or he was in the process of doing it, and the ball hit his arm and broke his arm.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
You know, sometimes if someone has a good kick, like that comes off someone's foot at a couple like 80 miles an hour.
It like think of it like where that kid.
Oh yeah.
That's the same thing that like happens in people's arms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or like hands, wrists.
I've seen people break their shin. Are you talking about Weidman?
Chris Weidman.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah, that's a tough. And with the whole like Anderson Silva background to it too,
it
was just
where he actually checked a kick perfectly on Anderson, and then it happened to him.
Yeah,
I love Chris Weidman, and then after he beat Anderson, they put him against all these steroid monsters, and then like he was just getting housed by everybody.
Yeah,
and then like he just couldn't catch a break. Every fight he went into, he would catch like a wild knee.
He is, and he's like an all-American guy too. Like,
yeah,
he's like you can't not be a fan of him. At least like
who's probably your favorite fighter right now to watch? Like if his fight's on, I'm buying the pay-per-view.
No, it's that girl.
It's a good one. Thug Rose.
Oh, Rose.
That's his girl.
Big fan of her.
His overalls and all.
Yeah, her overalls in the way, and I was like, oh, I gotta wear mine for the fight now.
Rose, so
you know the big thing with her. She went into a fight, and at one point she had long blonde hair, and one of the commentators or someone said like in the interview like, "You're too pretty to be fighting."
Oh.
And she was like, "Oh yeah." She went in the back and shaved her head.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Am I still too pretty to fight?" I'm not here to look pretty. I'm here to fuck bitches up.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's literally what she said.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "You're a thug," and
Yeah.
and then like that's kind
Oh,
of
there's
that's kind of when it
there
came.
it is.
Where
Yeah.
she's
Right.
like, "I'm not here to be a sex
right.
appeal. I'm here to be a fighter." She's a psycho.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of her. I think I almost have to pick like fight per weight class, but I think like overall, like Max Holloway, huge fan of him. Just
Yeah.
because he's like a
Does
genuine
Pettis still fight?
Anthony Pettis. Yeah,
Yeah.
he fights for Bellator now.
Really?
I believe. Yeah.
He's not even in the
No,
UFC
he got
anymore?
let go, and then his first fight, I think it's in Bellator. It might be like something else, one of the other branches. But
Have you ever watched Anthony Pettis versus Ben Henderson, the last fight of EC? What the hell was that promotion called now? Fuck.
Is that when he jumps off the cage?
When he does a Superman.
Yeah.
But that whole fight, like that's just a clip. That
Yeah.
entire fight is fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I mean, Showtime Pettis.
Yeah,
I mean, he
because
used
Ben
to be a
Henderson and
stud.
Anthony Pettis were at the point where they're like, they were so comfortable being on their back, they would
Mhm.
purposely give their back up.
Mhm.
Like there's 3 or 4 times in that fight where they both have each other in full back mount,
Just chilling,
rear naked chokes.
Yeah,
And Pettis is like full choked. He's just like,
yeah.
I was like, how do you do that?
Guys, there's some psychopaths out there that'll just like
That kick wasn't even the worst shot of the fight. There was a point where Ben Henderson goes for a double,
Mhm.
and as he goes for a double, Pettis hits him with a knee as he's coming in, and
Oh.
you thought Ben was knocked out
that'll
there, and he
do it.
wasn't.
That's
And
that's
he
insane.
finishes the takedown.
Yeah, taking shots like that.
Yeah, that was a great fight.
Yeah, I
It's one
think
of my favorites.
yeah,
WEC.
yeah,
WEC.
you're right. Yeah.
It was gonna come to me.
Yeah, outside of Holloway, like especially Holloway's last fight when he fought the Boston boxer. I can't blanking on his name. But
There's so many fighters now that because back in the day, UFC had like 30 people on the roster.
and you knew every one of them.
Now it's like 285 people per
Yeah,
division.
Yeah,
it's like I
especially
can't.
with the contender series where like anyone comes up there and just could fight. I mean, obviously they have like backgrounds and whatnot,
Yeah.
but I mean, it
Who's
just
that
opened the
kid
pool.
everyone's going crazy for now? But every single time he gets on a hot roll, like he something happens with his knee or his leg, where he gets a leg injury. That
Sean O'Malley.
Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, that was a weird. He considers himself undefeated still because
He
of
took
that.
a leg kick and
Cheeto Verify,
it shut down his nerve in his foot and he couldn't walk.
Yeah, that's what happened in the
Connor.
last fight card that just happened.
Oh, really?
With,
Oh, that's not the same guy.
yeah.
But his was knee. His wasn't nerve.
Yeah, no, not Chris Weidman. The other guy with Anthony Lionheart Smith and Jimmy Crute. It was
Yeah.
a light heavyweight battle.
They just
And
look for that nerve that sits right underneath the
Yeah,
kneecap, and you hit it like a
Smith-
shin kick, and
Yeah,
it just
Smith kicked him in like the side of the knee, and his leg just shut down, and he was like trying to walk on it, and he was getting wobbly and
It
stuff.
looks like you roll your ankle.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, and that's when that was the fight that you were like, oh, that's like an LCL or
I thought
whatever.
that's what it was.
Yeah,
Did you
I
tell me
think.
that it was an ACL.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. It turned
That's what
out to
happened
be
with
an
Connor
LCL
and
injury.
Dustin, where Dustin hit him with that same kick.
Oh
and
yeah,
Connor
and his leg just shut down.
and Connor couldn't get out of he couldn't get his back off the cage, and he just kind of just took those
Yeah,
shots.
and
He's like,
I-
I couldn't move.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy because I know like Rogan always talks about it, but like the introduction of those leg kicks into like fighting now and striking, where you have to like be aware of just somebody just tapping your leg every once in a while.
I watched
builds
Forrest
up.
Griffin win the light heavyweight championship off Rampage Jackson,
Mhm.
and I don't think he landed a punch. He just leg kicked him the whole time. 'Cause
Yeah.
Rampage came out with that heavy lead foot,
Mhm.
and he was looking for the power shot, and Forrest was like leg kick, leg kick, leg
Yeah.
kick, and he won a fight leg kicking.
Yeah, it's wild because to a person that doesn't know how powerful those kicks are, like ever felt them before or like knows fighting, they add up. And I mean, you take one and that one could shut down. Like if I took one of those, I'm done. I ain't
Yeah.
fighting the rest of the thing. But they're taking kick after kick, and then
Hit
like
him right in the calf, and they get that calf. You get that tightness
Yeah.
calf, in the calf,
Oh,
calf
Yeah.
cramps. Yeah,
and they go back, and you could kind of like they'll sit down on their stool when they're in that corner, and they're just like, oh shit, like I'm feeling it.
did you ever watch Jose Aldo and Uriah Faber? They fought in WEC,
I don't
and
think I
Uriah
saw that
Faber hit him in the quad so many times with leg kicks that Uriah Faber pretty much ended the fight. He couldn't stand on his leg anymore.
one. Wow.
Jose Aldo beat him with leg kicks.
Yeah,
like just
that's-
because he was a soccer player growing up, and
Yeah,
he would just
see,
hit you in
there you go.
in the quad with that kick.
yeah.
It's like two boards clacking together.
Oh.
Yeah, you have to watch those old WEC fights. They were crazy.
Yeah, there was. I know, like I've seen a few of the Pride ones. Pride was, of course, big
Oh,
at the time coming
Pride.
up.
Pride was also under subject because sometimes they faked fights.
Oh,
Yeah, some of them were scripted.
Interesting.
Some of them were either scripted or they would put somebody in there, and then the last minute they'd be like, "Oh, we're gonna change your opponent," and then they would throw like a ringer in.
No way.
Yeah, Pride was kind of shady.
No way.
Yeah.
I never do that.
Yeah, it was kind of dirty. Yeah, you have like the UFC network or whatever it is.
Yeah, I have the ESPN Plus.
Yeah, well, no, the UFC
The
app.
Fight
I don't
Pass.
know if they still have the Fight Pass where you can go and watch older fights.
Yeah, they have that. They have that. I don't have the Fight Pass. I just have ESPN Plus, and I have the pay-per-views as like part of my monthly budget. Where I'm like,
Oh, really?
$70 this month.
Yeah. We gotta get together for a pay-per-view one time when you come back out.
Oh,
I used to have huge parties here and fight.
yeah.
We
I
actually had a
remember that.
party in this living room the night that Weidman broke Silva's leg with a leg.
Really?
kick. Yeah, that happened at my house because I wasn't a huge Silva fan. I
Mhm.
respected him, but I wasn't a fan. I didn't like
Yeah.
how he like taunted everybody.
Yeah, he was cocky.
Yeah, and then we had Weidman 2 here. We had the birth of Conor McGregor through this house.
No
Like,
way.
I used to, like I said, I started watching UFC 64.
Mhm.
So I started when Tito Ortiz fought Ken Shamrock for the first time. And that's before it got popular. And then I used to go to school and be like, yo, UFC's going to blow up. And like,
64.
yeah. So, and then the Ultimate Fighter happened the year I graduated, 2005, when when Stephen Bonner fought Forrest Griffin.
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
just
yeah.
they fucking bloodbath on
Classic
live
fight.
TV.
Yeah.
And then that's when UFC just like put a bottle rocket.
Yeah.
It's one of the craziest sports because growing up, you go like kind of the NFL has taken a weird angle where for a long time in the NFL, you would like talk to your dad or my dad, and you're like the scrambling quarterback, and they'd be like, "It's never gonna work." We watch these scrambling quarterbacks come and go, and they don't last very long. And now the league is just like defensive linemen are now like 200 pounds and they're running 4.4.
Got to keep up with it.
You know what I mean? Like, and now running backs are like the game has gotten so fast. So like the NFL now is such a weird. Every sport has gotten bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
But no sport has evolved quicker and changed so drastically than UFC.
Yeah.
Like at one point in time, it was like a guy was like, "Oh, I'm just going to go out there and slug," and then now you have these people who are amazing at jiu-jitsu and amazing at judo and amazing at this. And if you're not a well-rounded fighter, you're going to get dusted.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. There's, like you said, because I think it gives you your own control. Like you see now, like these crazy strikers that are coming up, like Deshaun O'Malley, and even Connor does or Stephen Thompson, like Wonder Boy Thompson.
What was the good guy from Bellator? Michael Page.
Oh,
Venom, Michael Page, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Or he's crazy. We'll just throw something. Just throw it and see what happens.
Yeah, but they have like you have this like unorthodox style of striking where people are just like, well, this doesn't look like a Philly shell block or what's going on here. And
Weidman broke his leg fighting Uriah Hall, right?
correct.
Yeah, Uriah Hall's another one. He's a scary dude.
Yeah, he's a freak
he was always
athlete.
afraid to like hurt people. Like he hurt he hit someone with a spinning heel kick in the Ultimate Fighter house, and he literally thought he killed the guy, and then like he lost his killer instinct for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, just to land that, to even like think about throwing that in a fight, you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this.
Did you ever see the fight where he broke his toe and the bone was sticking out of his foot? He snapped his toe. His toe was 90 degrees and the bone was sticking out. And they kept like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I know what you're talking about."
Wow.
And he would go to the corner limping, and as soon as his stool was pulled out, he would just stand up and keep fighting. Like he looked like he never like his foot was not fucked up, and he won the fight.
Wow.
Uriah Hall's a monster.
Yeah.
He's a scary dude.
Yeah, he cried though when that guy broke his leg.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's a tough.
Like you could tell he was like,
Yeah, it's not the way you want to win.
Right.
Yeah, especially with that guy, because like his career being at the age that he's at, for him to come back and then like do PT and then try to get back in, he's gonna go through that Anderson Silva thing where he came back and just
And Anderson Silva shouldn't have came.
Yeah, exactly, because that's so tough. Because one, you got to get over the psyche of the whole.
I think Anderson came back and then failed the steroid test too.
Oh, they really?
I think so. Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, a lot of those Brazilian guys, they kind of faded off because once the USADA came in, they weren't allowed to do as much as they were doing, and a lot of those guys disappeared.
Yeah,
like Vitor and stuff. They're
talk about it like a massive individual too.
Yeah,
like,
scary,
stacked.
Yeah, I've been obsessed with. I have to get back into it. I have to start watching again, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, like I said, I watched like at least all the pay-per-view, because once I started like training.
Is Nunez still fighting?
Yeah,
she's still a double champ.
Yeah, no one's ever gonna beat her.
The night she fought Cyborg, I'm like, she's gonna knock her the fuck out. Like, you're crazy. Cyborg's gonna kill this girl. I was like, I'm telling you,
it's crazy the odds in like the fights that you see with her. They're like minus 2,000 or something. Like,
she's a psycho, man. I loved Ronda, but once Ronda, they're like, we're gonna make her a stand up. I'm like, she's fucked.
Yeah,
she's fucked.
Yeah, she's the judo background
grappler.
She
like, close the distance, take you down the ground, and you're done.
Yeah,
and then she knocked out 2 people that weren't great stand up, and she got this confidence that she can stand up and box everybody. And I was like,
worst decision she could have done.
Not smart, not smart. And then Holly Holm kicked her head off. Amanda Nunes, crushed her. Everyone kind of beat her up.
Yeah, she's without a doubt. She's in my mind, she's the best fighter. But also you got to keep in mind like the talent pool. Like she's beat everyone at this point that there's no one. They're just tossing like it's
And
like
nobody will fight her.
Here's the 14th ranked fighter coming up to like a title shot because there's no one else.
That's how John Jones was for a while, where he was just fighting. He was just fighting anybody who would take it. Do you think he comes back?
Yeah,
he's training for heavyweight. They said.
Yeah, well, him and Nagano is the next lineup for sure.
I always want to see him and Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Oh,
for some reason he would never fight Anthony, and now Anthony's in Bellator.
Yeah, he was supposed to fight Yoel.
I wanted to see John Jones, Anthony Rumble. I thought that would be a good fight.
Yeah, I think. Well, Jones is the Jones Nagano fight's supposed to be the next one, but like Nagano wants it because he's like, I get to fight a legend. Like, this is great. And then Jones.
The problem with Nagano is like, I know he changed from the last fight, but like he's a round and a half. If he does not get out in a round and a half,
he's definitely got to work on conditioning. But I mean, at that level, he's just playing to his strength is all he's doing. He knows like if I come at you swinging and I just catch one, like it's over.
Yeah, John Jones is he's a freak. He's a freak out. He was beating half the division high on coke.
I know he was.
It's crazy to think about.
He's wild. Like you want to talk about one of the smartest fighters.
He'll go down in history as one of the best fighters of all time.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, he was pound for pound #1 for the longest time.
I still think he is.
And then Khabib like got up there because he went on his streak, but he was always like.
But John Jones would go out there and be like, they would go out in press conference like, the only way this guy could beat John Jones is if John Jones doesn't do this, this, and this, and the fight would happen, and John Jones would do everything that the critics say that he couldn't do to lose. Like Khabib is just like, oh, I'm going to take you down. You're not going to get up. I'm going to smother you. Like Khabib stuck to his game plan. John Jones would purposely go out there and be like, I'll do exactly what this guy can do. The only thing he can do to beat me, and I'm going to prove to him he can.
Yeah, it's just
he's a scary human.
Yeah, he's a hard worker, and you've got to figure he's just like, okay, this fighter's good on the ground. Guess what? We're going to the ground.
Yep.
Like,
I'll purposely take you where you're supposed to be the best at.
Yeah, he's so good. I think like pound for pound now it was. Did Usman just take the top for that now?
Yeah, but it's just pretty much Dana White says who the pound for pound is. Whoever's the most active fighter, he can make money off of. It's a giant scam.
Yeah.
When do you guys leave?
Tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Next time you come back out here, you have to reach out on Facebook to Fighters Heaven.
Okay.
Have you ever been there yet?
No.
You know what it is?
No.
Fighters Heaven is in Orgsburg.
Okay.
It's Muhammad Ali's old training camp.
Oh, okay.
Muhammad Ali used to train when he came back. He trained in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
like 45 minutes from here, and you can go in there and go into his original cabin where he slept and like where he would pray and where they would eat lunch and where they would train. It's a complete museum and it's completely free. You just contact the guy on Facebook with like, hey, are you free to this day? And he'll be like, yeah, I'm here because he kind of lives on the grounds, and then he'll take you around the entire property and show you everything.
Holy shit, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It's breathtaking.
Yeah.
Remember John Clark?
No.
He was old man John Clark. He used to live on Minoy Street. He was like this old guy. He had a big white mustache, and he would like talk to you like he was like a gangster. He always walked around town and talked to everybody. He eventually ended up passing away, but he was actually best friends with Kilroy. That was Muhammad Ali's like corner man.
Yeah.
And and Muhammad Ali trained like Mick Collins' dad was Muhammad Ali's
his
doctor
for his like checkups or something like that. Yeah.
So when he would come fight, like Muhammad Ali would hang out in Monte City.
Oh wow.
And like all these surrounding areas. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing stories that he used to like go down to the East End Park and do like little training sessions, like running around the East End Park and shit like that.
There's a rumor that Babe Ruth played baseball in the Monte area too. I don't know how true that one is.
Yeah, I heard of it. I haven't heard any facts about it.
I definitely know Muhammad Ali was in Monte City.
Yeah.
There's pictures of Mick Holland and his dad.
Yeah,
Muhammad Ali. But next time you come out, you have to go to Fighters Heaven. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Fighters Heaven.
Once the summertime rolls around, I'm actually going to contact and going to do a podcast in there.
That'd be a good one.
Like I want the backdrop to be where Muhammad Ali would fight.
Oh,
dude, the Jackson 5 were there. Like every celebrity you can think of all went to this camp. Yeah.
Wild.
Yep. It was an old mink farm. Like it was like a farm where they would like sell mink furs and stuff. And then he bought it and turned it into a camp. They actually modeled Rocky. Remember when he would go up in the mountains and he would run through the mountains for the Russian scene?
Yeah.
They modeled that after Fighters Heaven because they went up there in the wintertime and Muhammad Ali's like, this is beautiful in the winter. Because like the mountain, he was up on the mountain and it would just snow and they would be stuck there.
No way.
And he would just run through the snow. And like I guess like because of like old photos of Muhammad Ali training in the snow and stuff, they were like, oh, this is beautiful. Like they used that for like the Rocky movies.
No way. Wow.
And it's like right here in our area.
That's crazy.
It's a cool experience. I definitely would recommend it.
Yeah.
Like I said, the only thing he does, like if you go there, it's free, but like if you could do a donation, he looks like anything to keep it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's awesome.
The only thing I couldn't go into when I was there was where his family would stay. So he had a house built where his wife and his kids would stay, but the roof is kind of fallen in, and the way the houses are built, it's hard to like renovate it and fix it.
Okay.
But they're looking to do it. But he actually stayed away from his family. Like, so like the way it's set up is like, say this is the thing. His family would stay here. The training camp building was here. Attached to it was like the lunch area, and then all these, like, there was a bunch of cabins up here where all the camp stayed, like his training partners, and some of his training partners ended up being world champions, and they stayed at that camp. And then he had a small little building here, which was his mosque, where we would go and pray. And then he had a little cabin all by himself over in the right hand corner, and that's where he stayed by himself.
Holy shit!
To get water out, it was a hand pump.
Yeah.
There was a bell right outside of his cabin, so he'd wake up in the morning, he'd ring the bell, and everybody, let's
I
go.
can't believe this is in Orangeburg. That's insane.
It's and then when you go in, there's these giant, huge boulders, and then every boulder going in is one of his opponents or someone he really, really like looked after. So like, there's a Tony Dorsey one, there's like a Joe Frazier one, and he had like, and it's a rock, and it just says like it's painted on a Joe Frazier, and he had a rock for every single person that he like that inspired him to be a good boxer or an opponent he really liked.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to check it out.
That's deep. That's cool stuff too.
Yeah.
Though. Talk about history. Holy shit.
I used to go to this guy's, John Clark's house. Like I said, a little Italian dude. And I would sit at his house like 4 or 5 in the morning at like 19 years old. My mom was like, "Where were you all night?" I was like, "I was at John Clark's house." And she's like, "Who the fuck's John Clark?" And my dad's like John Clark. He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, because I guess he knew my grandmother.
Okay.
So he came to St. Canicus one day and he seen me and the littles. And he was like, "You guys would be boxers." And I was like, "Never." And he's like, and then I said something. I was like, "Your personality reminds me of a woman I used to know." And I was like, "Who?" And he's like, "Elizabeth Blackwell." I was like, "That's my gram." He's like, "Get the fuck out of here." I was like, "I swear to God." And he goes, "Your gram was beautiful. I was in love with her, and your grandfather, they were the best dancers." He would say. And then he brought me in his house, and like, he was like, "You like Muhammad Ali?" And I was like, "I'd love to learn more." And he had every fight on tape. Every single one of Muhammad Ali's fights on tape, and we would sit there till 4 a.m. and watch these old black and white Muhammad Ali movies.
Holy shit!
You know the Will Smith movie?
Yeah.
That came out. There was actually a movie made before that one that was actually Muhammad Ali playing himself.
Really?
Yep.
Where's that one at?
I have no idea, but I watched it with him. It was awesome.
Wow, he probably has the only copy.
Yeah, it was really cool. I watched this fight where Muhammad Ali actually got his jaw broke by like this white dude in like, it might have been like Detroit or something. This dude broke Muhammad Ali's jaw.
Wow.
I think he didn't lose the fight, but it was like one where he probably should have. Like the judges gave him a decision,
Give
but
him
like
an extra round. Yeah.
but early in the fight, like he fucked Muhammad Ali up, and like you would see all these like racist old white ladies and like, "You're gonna die," and like dropping N-bombs and stuff at him. Like people would go to his fights to watch him lose.
Really?
Yeah, because they were so mad because he was a black fighter and he was dominating.
Wow. Yeah, that's a tough one to be like, yeah, he's gonna lose today.
Yeah, and they would go there and like chant like racist like slurs and shit at him. It was ugly.
Wow.
So supposedly a fight he took in Pennsylvania when he wasn't allowed to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a mob booked fight because if you remember, he left, like he couldn't box for 2 years because he dodged the draft.
Correct. Yeah.
But he was like, people were like, "Oh, he's a draft dodger." Like, no, he was just a guy who was dealing with extreme racism in his country. And why would he go fight for a country that didn't even give him rights?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't really blame him for not going to war, because he didn't have the same freedoms. Like people, these people of color would go over and fight a war and then come home.
Yeah.
And they're like, they get back to work, and you're like, "I just fought for this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't have a little piece of the pie."
Yeah. No.
And he was like, "Why should I fight for someone that I have no beef with?"
Mhm.
It's like, okay, he's like, "Vietnam never did anything to me. I have more beef with America than I do Vietnam."
Yeah.
And when he came back, or when he refused to do what he's supposed to do, jail time, he couldn't box for 2 years, so he lost his heavyweight championship. And then he came back and fought for the heavyweight championship immediately back, and it looked like he never missed a step.
Yeah.
He had no ring rust.
Yeah. It's
Wonder how he was taking fights.
yeah. See, that's crazy. I never even like thought about that time off because he kind of vanished because
It's the big gangster area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mobsters here.
Yeah.
And mobsters made money off sports.
yeah.
So there's rumors that John told me. He's dead now. So, but he was like, yeah, there may or may not have been a fight in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and the only people in attendance were people who were betting on it.
Wow.
And it was Muhammad Ali versus a guy in like an exhibition that no one knew about. It wasn't even on his record. I don't know how true it is.
Yeah.
That's what John told
Oh,
me.
I'm sure that happened all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Because he came back crisp.
Yeah.
Like he never missed 2 years off and won the world championship again.
Yeah, he is a different type of human being.
Yeah.
There's like type of athleticism and his mindset.
It's
mindset
a magical place when you go up there. You definitely have to experience it.
Yeah, no, that's adding that to the list.
I think who owns it is John Madden's kid. like John Madden football.
Coach John Madden.
Yeah.
No way.
His son owns Fighters Heaven. Like, that's the guy
Really?
who like runs it. Is like part of the Madden family.
Oh,
That's insane.
Yeah.
What type of the connections here? There's just everything.
His daughter was just up there not too long ago.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
No
His
way.
daughter still goes up there every now and then. Like some of his family, some of his
Mhm.
old training partners will still go up. Like it's a huge like draw.
Yeah.
But not many people in the area know about it,
Yeah, I never heard of it until you
or
said it.
they know about it, but they don't know it's open to people can go and experience it.
Yeah, I never heard of it. I feel like that's something I would have heard of, or at least like researched or something came across.
That's the best part
Yeah.
about this podcast. I'm learning so much cool shit in our area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was wild.
So when did you actually? I just want to close with this. When did you actually find out that I was doing this and like stuff like that? I'm just always curious how people.
The podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know.
you were one of the friends that were still on the 150.
Yeah,
the
it's definitely.
podcast.
That's probably honestly like you were one of the.
And I had
friends
less.
said there.
I post a lot, so I probably snuck in there, and you didn't unfollow me or anything. so-
Yeah, I think it was probably.
You
some-
made the cut.
made the cut.
I-
You've came up a few times in the podcast.
yeah,
Different stories you came up in.
I remember you talking to Matt Jenna. That was the one that I sent you
I
originally.
mean, even earlier than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few of them that I listen to. Like usually if I like know the person or some sort of like connection to them, I'll be like, oh, I gotta listen to this one. I know this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think I might have been talking to your dad about it originally, or maybe it was like your younger brother or something came up in conversation. And I feel like it was something about the merch. Like when you first started, I remember you being like, yeah, we got t-shirts. I'm like, I need a t-shirt. And that's obvious. I'm a t-shirt guy. I love
Yeah.
t-shirts.
Oh my god, I have an addiction.
Yeah.
I have
so-
too many.
Yeah, and I think I was just like, yeah, I need to get a t-shirt. And then I remember a while ago when you were first starting out, you were like, yeah, I gotta have you on the podcast and put. I'm like, yeah, eventually. And then I vanished and moved to Michigan.
Yeah. What made you land Michigan? Like, go out there.
Yeah, so I'm applying to PhD programs for pharmacology, and I applied to Drexel, Boston
So
University.
you're still in school.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, I still have another.
He went back.
Yeah, I'm still another 3.5 years until it'll
Holy
be a
Hannah.
decade in total.
What is your overall goal? Like you want to like create pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, so I not so much synthesize them. That's more like the organic chemistry. More so, I would like to work for a pharmaceutical company and kind of be in some sort of administrative role where I'm either in charge of a lab, in charge of a team, or like kind of making the decision, like a leadership role where I could kind of see the big picture. Because having the background from Drexel with that drug discovery and development degree, it taught you like the whole pipeline. So a PhD in pharmacology, I could go work at the bench. I could work in the patents and start doing the laws. I could work with the marketing and advertising. There's just so much to it that I kind of want to have a little bit of everything. I kind of want to like do a little bit of this, do a little bit of marketing, be part of like the actual synthesis and the studying. But yeah, it was between Boston, Drexel, and University of Michigan. And Boston, I remember when I went to that interview, all they kept saying is, we're just like Harvard. We're just like Harvard. And I was like, okay, I feel like you guys have an insecurity issue here.
Yeah. But Boston, which is like Harvard. You're like,
they are, massholes are a real thing. They
Yeah.
are absolutely a real thing.
hey, you say Michigan, like the actual like Michigan, like
Yeah, University of Michigan. Yeah.
that school always appealed to me. I always, even though I'm a Notre Dame fan, I always kind of like
Yeah.
Michigan and Michigan State. Like all these Northeast schools,
Mhm.
like actually have standards to what they
Yeah.
student athletes and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. But University of Michigan stuck out because they were the first ever pharmacology department in the nation. And then I think they're like a top 6 pharmacology department in the nation. I was like, wow, like
I could be wrong with this. You know the serial killer H.H. Holmes?
No.
He was a guy who I believe in Detroit. He built like this building and he would bring people in and like he would gas the room and then he would it kind of like Saw and then he would like make cadavers and stuff with their skeletons and stuff.
Have you ever heard of
I
that?
haven't heard of
Yeah,
it.
his name was H.H. Holmes. He was like this world famous serial killer, like way back. Like people think that he may or may not have been Jack the Ripper, because when he and he went to Michigan for medical, and the only reason
Oh.
he chose Michigan at that time and like in that time frame is
Yeah.
because they used real cadavers.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Well, Michigan, I ultimately chose them because they were just like one of the best funded schools in the nation,
Mhm.
like one of the best pharmacology departments. And the moment that they accepted me, I was like, I have an opportunity here to be part of like one of the best departments in the world. And being there, I talked to some of the professors and researchers that I work with. I'll talk to them. I'm just like, how the hell am I here? I'm like, these guys are fucking geniuses. And
Mhm.
I'm just like sitting there and just like a child, just like a sponge absorbing everything. Like most of the time I catch myself not even speaking because I'm just trying to process everything that's being said. I'm just like, wow, like why would you go that route and do that experiment? And they're going off describing it and talking about it. I'm like, oh my God, it's like that makes so much sense. And then I'm like, I gotta write that one down.
Like now, when it comes to like testing pharmaceuticals, like what is the process? Because obviously you can't go to like human testing right away. So how
Yeah.
do you go about that?
Usually, so you validate a target, whatever, some sort of high throughput screening. So essentially, that's like you throw a bunch of drugs at like whatever your target is, like whatever receptor it is. So it's kind of like throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks,
Mhm.
and then you get a few like leads, and then you go off that, and then you have cell lines that you develop. So you're trying to see like how it is in the cell, and then you move up to like larger scale. Then you start working with mice, and then like rats, and then I know like pigs are really good examples for using for cardiovascular stuff because their hearts are very similar to like
The human?
the actual rhythm of how it beats and whatnot. And then from there you just keep going up, and then like there's dogs and horses they test on too, but less frequently they'll do that.
Is it like, I mean, you probably, even if there was, you probably couldn't talk about it, but like, is there like, you think people like still like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were like, fuck the rat, I'm taking it. See how this works.
I would doubt it. I mean, like there's cocaine labs, and I mean,
Yeah, like if you're making a beer, you're not gonna be like, I'm gonna have this pig drink it before I do. Like,
yeah, I mean, I thought about it too. Like when I was at Drexel, there's labs that worked with cocaine. I'm like, I wonder, like,
yeah,
like if you're a kid that's going through the program and you're like, wow, like I like cocaine. It's like, well, fuck, I'm gonna join a cocaine lab.
yeah. Well, obviously too, if you're gonna mess with these different pharmaceutical stuff, like you kind of want to know what the effects are.
Yeah, if you want to bring in like a personal experience to it, I think it helps.
You work with a lot of cardiovascular though, so you wouldn't.
Yeah,
It wouldn't really be anything that you'd want to like try.
Yeah, a lot of this, at least like I did a lot of cardiovascular stuff at Drexel. That was like primarily my specialty. But then after I left that, now I'm going into like, I'm essentially studying a specific receptor that's involved with both like blood clots, and it's involved in melanoma. It's involved in some sort of autism. Like, so it has these like, has this validation in different types of like pathology. So I could kind of pick which one I want to go with.
Yeah.
But I'm just starting out in the lab now, so I have to see which one is like super interesting.
I read an article. It's probably gonna people think I'm a huge like druggy psychic hippie, but but because I'd never taken a psychedelic. Not saying I wouldn't, but I just never have. But I was reading an article about like how they're experimenting with microdosing mushrooms
Yeah.
to help with like Alzheimer's and people with stuff like that,
Yeah.
and like depression and stuff. And like,
Mhm.
the results of it have been like insanely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The science is really good on that.
So it's like anything, like all people see all these drugs and like they're the worst, but it's like if they're taken responsibly, like there's benefits to this stuff.
Absolutely. It's the stigma. It's like it's the old
It's like where Joe Rogan podcast, you ever tried DMT, bro?
Yeah. It is. It's there's such a stigma with so many of like
That's where the wrong amount is why it's wrong.
Yeah.
exactly. And it goes back to that everything in moderation. And
Mhm.
if you could, that's why they're doing the science now studying. They're like, if we could find the right dosage for that could be used for treatments and stuff like that, then we're like, we got to give this to like.
When I read the article, I was thinking immediately of the Limitless drug because they were saying like when you take the mushrooms, it opens up brain receptors, and then once you're done, even if you're not high by it or hallucinating,
Mhm.
those receptors still keep firing. So like every time people are taking these microdoses of mushrooms and they're not getting like like they're not seeing pigs flying and stuff.
Yeah.
Their brain receptors are opening up, and then once they're not even like on the substance anymore, that those brain receptors are still active and firing and working.
Yeah.
And then people are like, well, there's something to this where it's kind of like awakening parts of the brain that they didn't realize were like firing.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
Yeah. No, I think you'll see it become a treatment eventually. I think it's only a matter of time.
I'm watching right now a friend of mine, his grandmother's going through Alzheimer's, and it's a really tough. And I just really met her, but just like kind of what the family's going through, and like being around someone you've been around their entire life, and like they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. I couldn't even imagine. But what do you do for like living? Or are you in school or anything?
I'm a fitness coach.
A fitness coach.
Yep.
Nice. So like, is there a certain type of fitness you like? Is it yoga or is it
I work at Orange
cardio?
Theory Fitness.
What's that?
Orange Theory.
Okay.
It's just a group fitness class.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there like a program? Like, do you help people with like dietary programs and fitness programs?
On my own, but not through my job.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once I met her, I started taking her classes, and it was like the conditioning aspect. I always try to tell my guys that I train with, I'm always like, guys, like the reason my conditioning is so well is because of Orange Theory Fitness. And I feel like I'm a plug for her, like I'm pushing it. And I'm like, listen, guys, Orange Theory Fitness does this.
When you first started dating, you're like trying to impress her, and you were like, were you trying to break him, and then you were trying to like keep up, like I could do this.
Well,
Oh, he dies every time, but
Yeah.
he keeps up because your heart rate's right up on the board. So I'm looking over at him. He's like,
red zone.
Yeah.
and I'm like,
time.
babe, you're at 97%.
That's why you're trying to learn
Okay, over there.
cardiovascular. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna really impress this guy. I'm gonna get my heart rate.
Yeah, there's something I think it goes back to like the training with like grappling and fighting is just that like it's so explosive and you have to be comfortable at that like in that red zone because that's where the fight is most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I started doing like the conditioning with her with Orange Theory, it's just like it's
Well, he
so
wouldn't
good.
do it for a while because I bought him a Christmas pack. So, and we started talking at the end of October. So it took a minute, but then I bought it and I was like, they're in your name. You have to go.
Is there still a big travel between you two? Like
We're about to live together in like July, August.
a lot of people are like, oh, don't do that so quick, but it's the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
You don't know somebody until you like shit with the door open.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
We'll see.
getting there.
Yeah, we're just about there.
I mean, that's how my wife are just like you don't know who somebody is until you start living and
Yeah.
you really get a good grip of what each other are like.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think at this point, like we spend so much time together, like we're like literally best friends.
Yeah.
now.
And one of us is
And that's-
always driving. And it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. Because if we're
Yeah.
going to spend every night together, then we might as well pay for one place
Yeah.
Mhm.
and just be there. Because otherwise, I drive an hour to work. Or, he's leaving my house at 5 a.m. when I'm going to work. And it's like, it just is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely that. It's definitely that trial by fire.
Mhm.
Because I think what happens with a lot of, especially with people when they're trying to do that dating thing. This is me coming from like just hit my 14-year anniversary,
Yeah.
so I don't know everything. But I think when people first meet each other, they put that persona of what they think the other person's going to like,
Mhm.
and then they keep that persona up for a while because it's like, okay, this is what I know socially. This is what I need to be to fit that person.
Mhm.
But it's technically not you. And then
Correct,
you move
yeah.
in together, and you're like. This is kind of, and then eventually you're gonna that barrier's gonna come down because you can't play that
Yeah.
role all
Yeah.
the time, and then people are like, you're a fucking liar. That's,
Yeah.
that's not who you are at all.
Odd.
Yeah, you're like, you're right. Like it's like Homer Simpson. You take off your shirt, you're like sick, and then you take it off, like your gut falls down.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck happened? But no, I think it's a good move just to kind of. I mean, obviously you're not gonna be locked in anything,
Yeah.
Just a year
Yeah.
if you want to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
Murder's always an option. you know?
yeah.
For either one of you. You know?
See, no one will know because I'll just be like, Ed, he's sleeping. He's sleeping, Ed. 4 days later, Ed, he's taking a nap. I'm sorry, you're not gonna get a home.
He moved out 2 years ago.
I'll start studying up on H.H. Holmes.
Yeah.
Hey. Our first date was 3 hours long, and when I went into it, I was joining the army, and so I didn't really give a shit at all.
Yeah.
So it wasn't intentionally 3 hours. We sat there, we had one cup of coffee, and I just word vomited my whole life, and I was like, either he's gonna like it or he doesn't. I mean, I said some wild off the wall shit.
He's like, I'm from school county.
Yeah.
He's like, buckle up.
This is great.
Well, and so he started talking, and I was like, oh, you're medical? Well, here's all this weird stuff that I do. What do you think? And he's like, oh yeah. And then we talked every day since then. And I was kind of telling you, I was at a Halloween party and I had tried to get him to go, and it was in Detroit. He's like, no. And so I got into the wrong car and I got brought to the wrong place. And this girl's like FaceTiming Ty. And I had met him one time, mind you, at the 3-hour date. And that's it. That's all I know of him. And we're all drunk. And this girl's like, wow, we're in the ghetto. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's never going to talk to me. And I'm texting him and I'm like, I want to go home right
One
now.
less Facebook.
And I'm like, can I please go home now? And it's 3 a.m. and I live with my parents. I'm like, I can't go home. And he's like, you can come here. And I paid $86 to Uber, an hour to Ty's house, one date. Never been to his house. I fall asleep in the Uber. The Uber's like, we're here. Is this it? I'm like, I don't know. I've never been here. And the Uber's just like, okay. And I'm like getting out my little hoe boots and my Halloween costume.
What was your costume?
I was in my pajamas. What was it? What was my costume?
Oh, pajamas and your
No,
boots.
I had like a saying. Oh, come on.
I don't know.
I don't remember. I'll think of it. But
You were going to Walmart.
I'm
that
going
was
to-
your,
I'm going to
your
bed.
school county Walmart trip.
oh yeah, what are you? Going to bed. That was my Halloween.
Oh.
And straight up just in my pajamas. But I ring the doorbell I've only seen Ty once in person, and his cousin answers it, and I'm like, Ty? Like, because I'm drunk, and they look a little bit alike in the dark. And he's like, who are you? And I'm like, Kelly. He's like, oh, you're Kelly. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, yeah, Ty's inside. I'm like, can you show me where? He's like, this is his room. And we're like looking in, and Ty's sleeping. I'm like, can you
So
wake
Passed out,
you
yeah.
invite her over and fell asleep?
I'm like, can you wake him up?
I was like totally like, I was like, okay, if you're gonna come over here, I was like, listen, I was a total gentleman because I just met her. I'm like, listen, like I'll sleep on the sofa. You could have my bed. You could have the sofa. I'll sleep in bed, whatever works for you. And she's like, yeah, I just need to get out of here. So
I'm like, I just need a bed.
yeah. So I lay down and I put my phone down and I turn it on. I'm like, okay, she'll like call when she gets close or something. And I just passed out. Not
Well, Ty had also been drinking that night too, so he was out.
Yeah, I was clocked. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
And then he wakes up and I'm like, hi.
I'm like, oh, Kelly, hello.
Oh, that wasn't a dream. I actually
Yeah.
invited you over.
He had to drive me an hour home to my car the next day.
Next morning, yeah. Next
Yeah.
morning, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll take you back. And we had an hour-long drive.
He looks like, you didn't even dress up for Halloween.
yeah.
I'm in bed.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah, we got Starbucks and then we just drove.
What would you say, like, common ground wise? So do you have like
Everything.
everything?
Yeah, so much in common. That's why I said we're like best friends. We're, like she said today, spitting images of each other. We like everything we have. I think the biggest thing for me was the mentality. Like her mindset is just like badass. Like when she focuses on something, it's done. Like
Yeah.
it's getting accomplished. And that's how I've always been. So I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with me and my wife is I love the fact that she's super independent.
Mhm.
Like we don't have to be each other's hip. Like you go do your thing. Like right now she's spending the weekend in the Finger Lakes with her friends.
Yeah.
And it's just like I don't need to be there. Like
You
go have
got
fun.
this.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we don't have to like I can go do my like she hates bars. So
Mhm.
I'm like I'm going to the bar. And she's like if shit gets real, just come get me, call me, and I'll come pick you up at 3 in the
Yeah.
morning. It's like all right, cool,
Perfect.
I don't want to be there, but you can go and have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's always a good thing too, where you have that independence.
Yeah,
and that's the thing with
absolutely.
her. Like I can send her out and she can do her own thing, and
Mhm.
that independence and trust is there. So it's really, really important.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the trust is there. The independence. I'd rather do everything with Ty right now. You know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's still
'Cause
fresh.
like we're
Yeah.
growing. We're learning a lot about each other. So it's like everything that I do, I want Ty to be there. So it's
Mhm.
like, but like he came home.
You're in
for
the cutesy
Christmas.
phase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our honeymoon stage.
Yeah.
So when he came home for Christmas, I was like, whoa. I've spent every day with this guy. Now he's gone for 7. I'm like,
Now you
come
met
on.
each other's like you obviously you came to Monty, so you met his parents.
Yeah.
and you went and
Yeah.
met her parents.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
met my parents.
Are you only child, siblings?
I have a sister.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then me being an only child.
Yeah, it's like here's my
Uh,
cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In our area, like you could be an only child, or even if you're not an only child, like we're a big
Mhm.
like cousin area.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like here's my cousins, my aunts and uncles. Like it's always like very tight knit family in this area.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably the same way in Michigan too, but that's kind of the small town area where people don't leave this area because the family's here
Yeah.
type
Mhm.
deal.
Well, that's what he was saying. I was like, oh, there's my uncle.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Being an only,
"What?"
yeah, it's like I was telling her, I'm like, I'm probably gonna know like everyone at like any given moment. You'll just like hear a honk and a wave, and it's like, who is that? It's like, oh well, that's my best friend's like mom's stepson. There's that day.
8th grade, I got into a fist fight. Then I punched him in the face.
That's happened a lot.
Kissed his
Yeah.
cousin, and then me and that guy went and had a pizza
Yeah.
at Carini's.
We used to shoot the shit out. We fought. Yeah, we're good friends. now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I was,
Okay.
because every person has a connection somehow.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's,
like,
everyone remembers that story.
exactly.
everybody asks me like, what if my home's like this? I'm like, oh no. Like my nearest family member is a half an hour away. Like,
yeah.
But even like a half hour in probably your area for us, like everything's a half hour away. So that's like normal travel for us. Like
yeah.
I have family who lives in Hazleton, like, and I work in Hazleton.
yeah,
And then like normally, like if you lived in the city, it's like I'm not going. And like if you live in Philly, like that's a half hour across town. That's too far.
Yeah.
Or here, it's like a half hours. That's a normal commute for
Yeah.
anything. Like,
Yeah.
You want to go to the mall if you want to go do anything. You want to go get a restaurant. It's like a 45-minute, half hour drive.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Not now. I think growing up, maybe because that's just all you know. But like,
Mhm.
if I move from home to here now, oh, I'd be
At
lost.
like 2 o'clock in the morning, there's nothing to do. Like
Well, I
everything
told
stops.
him we'd have to go to the grocery store and I'd have to buy an assumption for all of the snacking I want to do for the entire week,
Yeah.
which is a lot of snacking. And so, like, I wouldn't be prepared because there's nights where I'm like, yeah, I need a snack.
Walmart's are Walmart's 24 hours again?
I have no idea.
I know they weren't for a while because of the pandemic. They shut down the Walmart's for like they weren't 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but where's the closest one?
St. Clair,
St. Clair, yeah.
Right. So
30 minutes away.
for me, I can drive. I could walk if I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, the one of the biggest things with me and my wife was we were really with the pop culture. Like
Mhm.
movies were our big connection. Like watching
Oh,
movies,
okay.
like like that documentary, the Blockbuster one, where like Friday night we go to Blockbuster and like buy
Okay.
movies,
Yeah.
like off the bargain bin. Like, or if you when you leave, like our bookshelf is filled with movies. And
No
stuff. Like
way.
that's always been our connection. It's like movies. She's like a huge horror movie junkie.
Okay.
All she watches is horror movies.
Wow.
It's-
I can't tell you the last time I've seen a horror movie.
I like the rom-coms.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for rom-coms.
Yeah.
I
What's your
play-
favorite movie?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
21 is mine, in case you're curious.
21 Jump Street.
No, 21, like the movie about counting cards.
Wait,
Is that with Kevin Spacey?
I don't know.
I think Kevin Spacey.
have you ever seen Rounders? That's a good movie.
Mm-mm.
It's about playing poker and
Is it
cards.
mathy? Because I like it because it's
Kinda,
mathy.
a little bit.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey's definitely.
You like
on
Rain
that,
Man?
so.
That's pretty mathy.
I don't know.
Rain Man is where Dustin Hoffman plays a guy with like autism,
Yeah.
and he like him and Tom Cruise is like his brother or his handler, and like they drop a bunch of toothpicks. He's like 445 toothpicks,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No.
and the lady's like, he's like, how many are in that pack? She goes 500, and he goes, oh, he was wrong. She goes, the box is missing. There's still 15 in the box, and he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's wild.
It's a good movie.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite movie. I mean, I don't watch them as often as I would like to, so I don't really like ones that's like stick out. Like Grown Ups, I'm a sucker for Kevin James
Yeah.
and like the Adam Sandler crew.
Grown Ups, I always felt like that is the epitome of like growing up and then being with your friends in this
Oh,
area.
yeah, absolutely. And it's always something that I know like so many people like want in their future life. Like, oh, let's all live in a cul-de-sac together type
Yeah.
mentality, because that would be so cool. I mean,
Mhm.
if I grew up with a bunch of people and I'm like, yo, you want to all live next to each other?
How is it coming home? Like when you're gone for a while and you come back and see everybody.
It's cool. The toughest thing is trying to see everyone, because it's taxing on me, because I'm like, oh, I gotta
It's like
do this.
everyone come to 54 or everyone come to McNiff's. I'll
Yeah.
be there, and if you're not here, go fuck yourself.
And that's why I said
That's
like,
what we tried to do yesterday at the Red Zone.
yeah, I was like, guys, just meet me at the red zone, because like I can't like
I didn't get invited to the resident.
I was like, I can't have like
I'll
coffee.
ask Ed because he invited everyone.
Yeah.
What the hell, Ed?
Yeah, he was on Facebook.
Jesus,
inviting
Ed.
everyone.
I'm disappointed in you.
The yeah, I was just, it's so, because when I came back for Christmas, I drove down to Delaware to see my mom, because she's living down there.
Oh, she's in Delaware.
Yeah, with her boyfriend now.
Oh, wow.
They have a house down there. So I drove down to Delaware. Then I saw my friend outside of Philly. Then I saw my aunt and uncle, who are like my second parents. So I saw them in Quakertown. Then I had to come back here and see my friends. And then it was just like 5 days of constant driving. So I was like exhausted. And even here, like I tried to come with that in mind. So I'm like, okay, like we're going to be more like strategic with this. And we're still exhausted.
Have you tried Gears Iced Tea yet?
Yeah, I tried it today.
Yeah, just today. I
What'd
had
you
rough
think?
cut.
I don't really like it.
Nah.
You have to keep drinking it. It's one of those things where you have to keep going.
Well, I read
like your
what
first
it's
beer.
made out of, and I'm like,
Don't read that. I don't even know what's in there.
instant tea.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Real tea.
It's not even real tea. It's instant.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I've been drinking it for 30 years of my life. I never knew that.
Well, I was like, this tastes funny. It kind of tastes like an Arnold Palmer in the can, but not as good.
I that was like the drink. We went to Rough Cut today, and I was like, yeah, I always get a Gears tea there. That's like the only time I drink it is when I'm at Rough Cut, and I was like, oh, this is so good.
Where's Rough Cut?
It's going towards Marion. It's kind of like in the middle of nowhere.
Really?
It's like in between, like I guess like hometown of Tamaqua, or if no, not Tamaqua.
I'm trying to think. Have you tried Middlesworth barbecue chips yet?
I also,
Didn't like them.
Really?
she's got weird taste buds.
Gears chocolate milk.
Didn't try that.
Yeah, I didn't try that.
Before you leave, get her a Gears.
Yeah.
It is so Gears iced tea. Gears is like a dairy thing, and they do make
Mhm.
the iced tea, and their chocolate milk is, in my opinion, the
It's out of the
greatest.
world, yeah.
It's like thick. It's so good.
It's good.
It's the best chocolate
We'll
milk.
grab some. I know my cousin Boomer's gonna want some, so I'll stop picking
Yeah.
up some.
Trying to think of it. Miller's hot bologna.
No, we didn't have any hot bologna.
Kevilanis kielbasi.
No, but my dad said that he should have got some and brought it to dinner tonight, so I could take it back with me.
Yeah. Well, so I'm getting another tattoo soon. I'm getting Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Oh,
Because I was a monster, and then I met my wife, and she was like, "Your bad levels are this high. We need to bring them down to here." So I want to get Stitch, but I want to get the forearm Stitch, and I want one to have like a Chetty can and him chugging a Chetty, and then I want the other hand to have the Middlesworth barbecue chips, then the other hand to have a jar of Miller's hot bologna, and then the other one with like Kevilanix or something like that, or him wearing like a Kevilanix T-shirt or something, and then the other hand be
Scoop
like a tasty cake or
I
something.
love it.
But I have Winnie the Pooh drinking a Gears iced tea.
That's
there we
awesome.
go.
Look at the gears. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's my. But it's one of the things. Even my friends when they moved from New York, they tried it. Like, I'll tell you, let me get one of those gurs. And they drank it. And they're like, this is gross. I'm like, just keep going. And then they're like,
Yeah, I didn't like.
they're like, yeah, I need more. It just gets you. You get hooked to it. Did you see the new cartons yet?
No.
Hold
I
on a
didn't know
second.
There was new cartons.
This is for the worst thing to do in a podcast.
Did they like change the design or something?
They changed the cartons.
No.
Look at that futuristic shit. I bought it and it blew my mind. There's like grip handles on it. It has like designs. Like if you pull the handle, it's like textured.
But not a twistlet.
No, never the twistlet.
Never.
That is. Wow, it's even like the plastic, the
Yeah.
Duralite plastic that they listed on there. Wow, they really did.
It's
go
brand new.
for
I've
some
never.
design
I've
into
we
it.
we bought 2 of them so far. There's this literally will last us. My wife's not home this weekend, so it'll last a little longer. And I have other stuff to drink, but normally we go through like 3 of these a week, 3 or 4 a week.
I wonder what the significance of the little grooves are.
I have no idea, but we bought it and I pulled it out of the fridge. I was
Gotta
like,
get a cold
what is going
day.
on with this? It's like it's all ribbed and stuff. It's like futuristic Gears Iced Tea.
It's like we should buy more.
Yeah.
Another one.
I don't know if people are aware of that. You go check your Gears Iced Tea. It's different. I can't drink it out of the carton anymore. I don't like the
Really?
I don't like the cardboard taste. I have to drink out of the plastic.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's my go-to now.
Bougie.
Yeah.
I classed up too much. But I'll get you out of here. It's been a long time. We've been podcasting now for like 2 hours.
Nice.
And it goes quick, right?
It does. It
Yeah.
does.
How'd you like it? Your first podcast experience?
Honestly, I loved it. I mean, it was good catching up. I mean, that was kind of like the main reason.
Yeah.
And I was like, if we could kill 2 birds with one stone.
Absolutely. I'm glad you joined us. I got
Thanks
to learn
for
about you.
having me.
Again, next time you come out, we got to hang out and karaoke.
Yeah.
Hopefully the pandemic's not as crazy.
Yeah.
What do you feel with like now studying it with the vaccine and stuff? Or is
Mhm.
that too hot topic?
No, I'm comfortable talking about it. Being in the
Another hour goes by.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, I feel like it's my obligation being in the field of pharmacology to educate people, because a lot of the misconceptions and the reasons why.
So I'm not microchipped?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that type of mentality is well, that's conspiracy. That's kind of whatever they believe to each
Listen,
their own.
Q told me.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that people are educated and learn about it, because it's one thing what the media tells you, but it's another thing of what's actually happening in the labs and the science that's being done. And the only thing I could say is the pandemic was awesome for public and like the society, because it gave the layman an idea of what happens in real life science, like in real time. So
Mhm.
like trial and error, they're like, oh, a mask works, a mask doesn't work, like 2 masks work, like 1 mask doesn't work. And
6 feet, 3 feet.
yeah, and that's how science is in the lab. Like when I'm doing experiments, you do stuff, trial error. Okay, that didn't work. Switch something. Try it again. Didn't work. Okay, switch it. You get a conclusion. You're like, okay, this is it. This is what we're going to run with. But then there's a reason why science papers are peer reviewed, because they'll go and try it. Doesn't work. They come back to like, yo, it didn't work. They're like, oh crap, got to change something. So it gave the public an open lens of how science is really done.
Mhm.
And I thought it's a good thing, because it gets them the exposure, because obviously the science field is.
Now, the vaccine that most people are taking is something they've been working on for a while, because most people don't realize, or they do, like COVID's not brand new. There has been different strains of COVID
Correct.
forever. So they've been working on something for COVID for a while,
Correct.
but they had to find the correct procedure to help with this strain.
Yeah. So each strain behaves like its own, each different type of virus. So obviously they got to study it as its own individual.
And sometimes don't some places like make viruses to then learn how to.
Yeah, it's almost like we see that there could be a potential problem here. So then they go from that, and they're like, they make the problem so they can make like the solution to it. But yeah, that whole thing is just, I've just been trying to, like, if people have questions, I just answer the questions.
Are you team Moderna or team Pfizer?
I got the Pfizer one.
And I got Moderna.
I got
Yeah.
Moderna too. We're gonna link up later.
We're already synced.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm just team anything. Like, if you don't want to get vaccinated, like, don't get vaccinated. But
I will technically be fully vaccinated Friday
Mhm.
because it's 2 weeks after your vaccination.
Yeah, I got mine back in like January, because like the medical school, like we had to like work in the labs and like be around people and
Yeah.
stuff.
The best one I heard is they're giving the vaccine so they can kill us. I said, interesting.
Right. Starting with our doctors.
Yeah, starting with the most intelligent people on the
Yeah.
planet. all of our entertainers.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, they're getting a different strain. I'm like, go away.
Yeah, go away.
Stop it. I don't want to hear you anymore.
Yeah, like I know, like some of my like really good friends are just like, yeah, I'm not gonna get it, and I'm like, okay, like that's like I'm
Sure.
cool with
That's your
that.
choice.
There's enough people to get a herd immunity.
Yeah,
And I hope if you, there's a lot of people recently who I've known, like, I don't believe the COVID's a thing. And then like 3 weeks later they get it. I'm like, I hope you're all right, man.
yeah,
Cause I've known people who are super healthy that like, I mean, not personally, but seeing people who are super healthy who've been dead.
Who died? Yeah.
yeah. There's and even like the shots. I know people like will get. They're afraid because of the side effects that you'll get from the shot, but
Everything has a
so
side
much-
effect.
It'd be so much worse to get it. Like my sister has MS and she's like, oh, I'm afraid to get it. And she emailed her doctor, was like, is this vaccine good for me? And the doctor's like, what you're going to receive from getting the vaccine is so much less significant than what would happen to you.
Yeah,
if you
I had a
got
headache
the
for a couple
virus.
hours. I was sore where they gave me the shot, and I felt like I was sick for a couple hours, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you have a health cold and you're not. But I also got my allergies start acting the same day, so I had a little bit of added on top. My second shot was actually easier than my first,
Oh,
and
really?
people said that the second shot was worse.
The second shot took me out.
Yeah, I just slept.
Yeah, nothing happened to me. I got both shots, and I was like training the same day I got them and everything. Like I felt great. That's why I like honestly I thought I had like a sugar water shot. And I was like, did I even get the vaccine?
Well, when I got it and had and I was like, you know, I really don't feel good because the first shot I got it overnight, so I remember being like really sweaty, hot sweats. But when I woke up, I was good. My second shot, Ty's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "I can't move. Like I was so sore in areas like my ankle joints. I could feel how sore they were." And I like would ask him for stupid stuff, like, and he'd look at me like, "There's no way," because he didn't feel anything, and I'm like, "No, I'm dying."
Yeah.
No, that's a couple days.
I just hope we get away from masks. Like I don't want to wear masks anymore. I'm over it.
Yeah, mask are. At this point I wear like I have.
I mean,
to
I wear
wear
it to
them in
be
the lab
convenient
and
for people, but like
Yeah.
I just want to go out like I don't want to wear masks.
Yeah,
I just want to be. I want to like lick people's faces again. You know?
I coach the group fitness, and my location, we abide by the corporate policy of everyone wears masks. There's places that I've subbed at that don't. And to see facial responses to like my jokes that like I can't tell how if you liked it or not, or like just to see somebody smile, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
I don't even
I
remember
do
what
that
it
weird
feels
white
like.
guy thing where like I see someone I don't know and I go, I like suck the lip in. I give like a nod,
Right.
head wave, like a smile.
But then all it looks like is this.
Yeah. So then all I see is like I make contact with people and I'm smiling at them, but they have no idea. Well, they kind of know because I beady eyes. So I go from this to
Right. Well, when you get Botox and you get rid of all those lines, no one can tell that
Yeah.
you're
We're just like,
smiling.
wow, what a cold
Like, what is
stare.
that? And I'm like, they really is smiling. And they're like, no, you're not.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to go back to normal. I hope we do that very soon. I want live music again.
Well, you guys are going back.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
next
the end of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not looking good for us.
yeah, Michigan. I think we're only like 20% vaccinated, so
There's 32.
32% vaccinated.
Pennsylvania's doing. I've been very for how much I've seen people like willing to not do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very proud of the people who are like, and I'm not saying if you don't do it, I don't like you. That's not the case at all. But I'm very proud that people are like, let's just get it done. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know the thing is like they'll like re-up shots where you might have like every year
like
a flu shot.
Yeah.
Like the flu shot. Yeah.
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 I think that's where it's going to end up. Is it's going to be like they'll offer it as like a flu shot, like an annual thing, just to kind of like boost the immune system and whatnot. But I think
but
that's
then when you
where
look at it, how many people don't get the flu shot? It's like we just need
I
this
used to
one
never get it.
year.
Yeah,
of
I used to
people
never
to
get it.
vaccinated, and then let
Yeah.
it be your choice.
Yeah.
I will say this. I think the masks, like a lot of people are like, oh, it's kind of weird that COVID came around and the flu disappeared. I'm like, it's because we all wear masks and we stayed away from each other.
And we washed our hands.
So when flu season came, we were more educated on how to like be more preventative of
Hygiene.
being
Yeah, I'll be
hygienic.
interested to see what the flu season looks like this year.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna
And
be
then the following year.
bonkers.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna get it. Everyone's gonna be so sick this summer,
Mhm.
but maybe not. Hopefully, people are like,
Hopefully these things stick.
yeah, because like I don't want to wear a mask all the time,
Mhm.
but if I going forward, if I'm like out and I'm like, I'm getting a little stuffy, like I have a sniffle or my sore throat, I'm throwing a mask on.
Mhm.
Like how they like that's a big thing in Japan, and I know they do it for like smog and
Mhm.
stuff and
Yeah,
pollution, but they
yeah.
also do it like, hey, I'm starting to feel sick, but I've already paid tickets to go to this event.
Mhm.
I'll just go and wear a mask and not fuck with people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if and like it helps. You know what I mean? Like I think it's very helpful. It's considerate too.
Yeah, well, that's what the UFC, the last pay-per-view, they had like 16,000 people in the arena, and Dana White said he's like, if you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. If you didn't, you didn't. And he's like, and it was great. He's like, no one was like, oh, you're a mask wearer type thing. It was
Yeah.
like people just minded their own business.
The
and did
South
what they-
Park episodes have been amazing. Have you watched them yet?
No, but my cousin was telling me about
Oh
them, and
my
he said
God.
they're great.
The cuties are out here trying to stop the vaccinations. They're out here fighting for what they believe in. And the guy's like, well, couldn't you say the same thing about the other side? You go to fucking hell.
Yeah. they are
Oh.
just some of the most intelligent people in the world with how they portray things.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, I know. I'm just excited. I just want to, like I said, I want to go back to like going to breweries.
Yeah, no, I definitely missed the outing. for
Podcasting
sure.
with masks on sometimes is difficult. Like I just did on location one. And we wear masks
Mhm.
and like I'm talking, it sucks to my mouth. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, as you're like breathing.
yeah, and I'm fat, man. I lose my breath quick now. At work, I'm like trying to like walk around. I'm like, I just do the nose thing when no one's around, so I can breathe a little bit. Yeah,
Get some fresh air.
yeah. But it's been interesting. But I just wanted to quick touch like what you feel with the vaccines. Is
Yeah, mine's 2
a
weeks
very
ago.
educated person who studies this is saying get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. But thank you so much, man. Next
Yeah.
time you're back in the area, we'll do a follow up and hang out. And,
Yeah, of course. Probably another 6 months. I usually doing like a 6-month trend now.
Yeah,
so.
every other 6 months. So then
Yeah.
6 months from now, you'll be fiance, and then another 6 months you'll be a Bernadyn,
Yeah.
and then another 6 months before
trajectory.
485 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
Gotta,
We gotta wait till at least he's making money.
Yeah, I got a few years.
yeah.
She's-
We decided very early, like kids are not for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I'm having issues. I'm gonna go to the doctor, and I'm like, while they're in there,
Yeah.
she's like, hey doc, while you're in there, shut it down. And I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
There's not even gonna be an oopsie chance for us now.
You
Zero
just
chance for me.
jinxed it. Things happen.
I don't want to hear that.
I don't
I don't like that at all.
speak it into existence.
Yeah. She's like, what happened to Heidi? She fell on the stairs. No, joking. It's a joke. No, I think if it happened, I'd have a kid. But,
Yeah.
like, it's not a goal.
Yeah.
I raised Austin. I don't want to fucking raise any other kid. 11-year gap between you and your brother. Like I've had a kid, and then her she'd
Yeah.
be the same way. She's 12 years with her brother.
Oh,
So we were
okay.
both the older sibling who raised
Yeah.
a younger sibling. So it's
Correct, yeah.
Kids aren't cool.
Yeah, they're
Every
Change
now
it.
and then I'm like, no. And then I see one and I'm like,
Oh, they're
Yeah.
so cute. They look adorable. And then it's like, and the mom's like, I'll be right back. My kid's shit. It's up to his
back.
neck. And I'm like,
in my mouth.
yeah. My kid pissed on me while I was changing his diapers. Like,
My
yeah,
friend
don't wanna do that.
literally had a baby 2 days ago. It's Antai's birthday. And the
Nice.
dad's holding the baby. He's got a big smile and you just see the piss running down. I'm like, oh, can't wait.
yeah. On your birthday, so you and a kid have a bond.
Yeah, well, once I meet him, I'm sure there'll be an instant connection. I'll just
Yeah.
look at him. He's like, "What?"
You're
The same.
vaccinated.
Yeah.
But we'll see you guys next time. Interviews with everyday people. If you want to support us, like I said, we have the Patreon. We do have merch pages where now you don't have to come and I have to drive a t-shirt and then find you and then drive it to you. You can order it online. It ships right to you. You can put my stupid face right on your shirt, pillows, all that fun stuff. We have some other logos too, so you don't want my dumb face. I recommend going with those. But thank you guys so much for the support. Interviews with everyday people. We'll see you guys next time. This is my first time I went live twice in one day, back-to-back interviews. So
Yeah.
the audio will be up soon. Just give me some time. I'll probably have it up for tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll be live with Bangin' Beers podcast. We're going to drink some beers and have some fun. But we'll see you guys next time. Here's some Steve Fulton, and we'll see you.